Hi, Craig. Oh, you sound a little rushed there, buddy. Um, uh, all right. Last time we completed the first arc of our season two, which I have updated the playlist. It's named Heart and Soul. Um, and and that's our characters go to South Korea and eventually North Korea, hunting a god that had gone missing, um, and ultimately finding out that that god had been captured by somebody who may have known May and used to fuel their power. Although a piece of him, it may survive in some way. Um, and as part of that, completing that quest, everybody has gone their own way for a 1 month time skip. May and Sinner's relationship is fairly on the rocks when the time skip is going to start, as she promised to not go to North Korea and avoid it as much as possible, and then also lying by omission by just planning on never telling him about it. Um, so that's a pretty serious problem. Meanwhile, Cal has been dealing with some issues regarding sort of a background creature or something, some sort of black dog that has been hounding necromancers and necromancer adjacent groups around the world, and seemingly killing a number of them, really displacing them. And um, I and Fish has been dealing with the increasing knowledge that Jonas is tied to them in some way. Fish has really just been ignoring for the last 2 years, really, that Jonas still has a connection to them, both interpersonally and potentially magically in some way. And things coming to a head, um, with the party getting rather angry at Fish for sort of hiding that and putting them in danger. Um, there is there is a lot of interesting things that are probably going to happen in this time skip. As a reminder for the audio, I have had all of the players choose two things to focus on in this time skip, one major and one minor. And we're going to have some rolls to see how that effect is. Once again, there is no negative consequences. A nat one does not do anything. Choosing to make this a priority and focus on it can only get good results. The role is for how good of a result. So choosing to, for example, increase a relationship with somebody cannot make that relationship worse. It can just not make it better. Um, as things often are in life, what you give your attention to is what you can help improve. And with that, does anybody want to start? Okay, nobody wants to jump in first. I think we are going to have Ellie and May. um, as you have um, headed back to is you've headed back to Sudan and meeting up with Sinner. Fish has accompanied you and gotten off the plane with you, essentially going up to Sinner and going, "Look, she's alive. I fulfilled my promises." Um, as the month pass, things are a little bit rocky with Sinner, but clearly he doesn't want it to be. He was very hurt, and you spend maybe 2 nights on the couch before you're back in the big bed. Although things are more fragile than they were before. Um, the dig is wrapping up, and you talk to Sinner about, um, well, what you went through, and Sinner does confirm the danger you're in, as well as what I said out of canon to you players, that uh, this man that you met, known as Kafan, or to give his nom de guerre, Godhand Kafan, as Sinner knows him, a longtime associate and fellow assassin of a uh, bone breaker by the name of Tesseract, who Sinner had been keeping an eye on as he was operating in a neighboring country. And as Sinner had said before, um, uh, Tesseract can be very subtle when he wants to be. If Sinner knows that he's there, it's because he wants to be known. And so Sinner was on high alert looking for an associate, Gafon, potentially attempting an assassination or doing something. A little suspicious that Tesseract was nearby to Sinner while Kafan was nearby to May, but the Kafan didn't seem to know who any of you were necessarily, so it's entirely possible it's just a coincidence. But yes, Sinner is impressed by how you all handled yourself with Kafan, while also acknowledging that, by your own admission, it seems rather obvious that Kafan was trying to avoid killing you if at all possible. Um, and as oh, also, as you stay in contact with the Koreans, with Shihwan and his brother, helping them with the bell from a distance, Kafan is noticed by them. But at the end of the month, no one has died. And it seems like maybe the cat was sufficiently out of the bag for Kafan to not need to strangle that certain witnessed event in the cradle, so to speak. Um, uh, and with that, we talked a little bit about what your two focuses would be. Um, which would you like to do, and is it your major or secondary focus?
Um, let's do the major focus first, which is trying to pick up the lead on Jonas.
Okay. And are you trying to explore that through the connection you found in Korea to the Chinese pharmaceutical company?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Then I would say give me an intelligence-based check. I would recommend investigation. I think that would be the most relevant.
So do
But
I.
if you decide to do history or something like that, I will give you other, perhaps less immediately relevant information.
No, let's do investigation because that's very high for me at the moment.
Okay.
Now that I've got the intelligence upgrades, and I'm guessing I can't use Flash of Genius.
I'm gonna say no bonuses for these rolls.
Yeah,
no bonus abilities. That doesn't make a lot of sense when you're abstracting something.
I know, but a girl has to ask. Ask and you shall receive.
Remember, it can't be a negative.
I'm gonna fucking chuck a 10. It was a nat 1, but it gets brought up to a 9.
Okay. With a 9, you are looking into this pharmaceutical company. You're not finding a lot on Jonas. There's definitely something suspicious about this company, but you can't quite confirm whether Jonas is actually a part of it or not. There's a little weirdness where you look into the records, and you're finding getting records out of communist China is pretty difficult. And so, with that, some mistakes and inconsistencies are bound to happen. But you find that the CEO of record of this company, or rather the head officer, because while it is private, it is still um, 49% owned and controlled by the government. Um, the leadership is a man named Zhu Fu, according to the records you're finding, and he's listed as a sort of deputy health minister in the party. And then you look at other records, and he's not in the party hierarchy at all. A different guy is deputy health minister, and there's no record of this person. Just a lot of inconsistencies like that, things that are a little weird. You know, something may be going on with this company, whether that is due to Jonas or due to secondary effects. You're not sure. With a 9 and talking to the Koreans, you had them. The first lead was having your context follow up on Hyunju's information and figure out what they were doing in Korea. And it seems like they were digging. They were excavating something in the mountains, some kind of dig. Um, it was, at least on paper, a search for a cave fungus that they wanted to own the rights to and use for medication, a new form of penicillin, perhaps. But that's not that's not a particularly believable response, except for apparently to government officials. Um, as And it also seems like in the month that has passed, you've gotten reports that they have sort of wrapped up whatever they were doing in Korea and have left. You keep digging into this company and its various subsidiaries, most of which Hyunju uncovered. With a 9, you don't uncover anymore, although you can kind of see the gaps in the org chart where, like, it should be. Um, there is definitely other. This company is definitely operating under a number of different names, including in other countries where it can avoid being seen as a Chinese pharmaceutical company. Yeah, a lot of weirdness, a lot of research areas similar to the Korea expedition. There is at least one by a subsidiary that is, at least on paper, completely unaffiliated with the Chinese that is in the United States. There is one in sort of northern Finland right now, up in the Karelia in Russia. A lot of just weird little, like, explorative areas, which is, well, you're not in the industry, but seems weird for a pharmaceutical company to do, to be, going out and having expeditions various places. Um, but in focusing on this company, this place, try to figure out what's going on with this thing, you find that um, you think you start to understand, mostly through contacts, people you're calling in England, old friends, and people who you know from um, archaeology and history circles. Uh, Especially people at various museums that you've been talking to. You think you understand why this is one of the very few companies not solely controlled by the government. Um, um, this pharmaceutical company is really heavily involved in vaccination programs and sort of medical charities, and so it may be a kind of way to um, uh, maybe a kind of way to like wash the reputation of the Chinese Communist Party. Might be a relief welfare arm, reaching out to other countries. And from the museum curators, you find out that this company has, over the last few years, had a number of uh, charity auctions, essentially, that has had a number of important antiquities that museums have acquired. And when you get the listing for the latest one, which is coming up in a little over a week, just after Christmas, um, you're flipping through the catalog and seeing um, a lot of historical Chinese artifacts, mostly ceramics, statuary, things of that nature. And then as you flip through, Lot 17A is familiar to you, though you haven't seen it before. You've seen something like it. A swirling ball of glass and metal attached to a bar, joining two of them together. This is Ancient's technology. And not just that, but a couple of other lots, including what appears to be Ancient's technology. Definitely that shape of like an old school dumbbell, like you would get in a Popeye cartoon. Um, uh, Other ancient technology, and in the listing, it says um, ancient artifact of high value, culture unknown, um, dug locally. Um, and based on the word that you are getting from these curators that you're speaking with, other people that you've called and had contacts with, it seems like this is a auction, a event in which the Chinese government is essentially trying to raise money um, for the government itself, by rather than sort of fully protecting these artifacts, selling them to the West for inflated prices. Essentially, you know, the other than Hong Kong, the British no longer have a foot in China. If they want Chinese artifacts from their museums, they got to buy them um, for a higher price. And so there's a lot of interest in Western museums in this upcoming auction, which is being held in the Chinese city of Guangzhou, a
Ah,
large port just across the way from Hong Kong and Macau. And that is all you get on a 9. A lot of holes still, a lot of mysterious things that you can't quite connect together. Um, but this pharmaceutical company is certainly suspicious, and if they're using, if they're mentioning Jonas, and if they've been using this arcane symbol that Cal has been talking about, um, uh, well, the Baizu medical group is certainly magically suspicious as well. And at the very least, these could be dangerous artifacts that May would need to recover. I didn't know you're conversationally fluent in Mandarin. I now like want to regret this entire arc.
Don't worry, I'm not anymore. It's been a long time since I properly
Okay.
studied Mandarin. But when you were like, oh, it's in Guangzhou, I was like, I know Guangzhou.
Yeah. Guangzhou mostly speaks Cantonese, but
Yeah.
my sister is wholly fluent in Mandarin.
Wow.
So. Oh, that's cute. Well done, honey. Um, um, yes, it is why she works for the government. That is true. My sister works for the government because she is fluent in Chinese. We'll leave it at that. Um, um, but yes, that is that is sort of the deepening mystery of what's going on. This pharmaceutical group is seemingly connected with these strange symbols Cal told you about, have been using Jonas's name, and have also been there with references to the Abomination, which I believe Cal shared with you all is the sort of recurring name of one of these figures of legend. And according to Cal's research, kind of the only recurring name. The Abomination is found in old records in a way that other names are not. And with that, if you wouldn't mind choosing your secondary focus.
I'm so unbelievably shitty at that role. You have no idea. I'm gonna be angry for the rest of the day. Minor focus is catch things up with Senna. And I think it'd be funny in retrospect. I think if it'll be funny if May's desperation of not getting anywhere with the major focus thus affects not also doing too well in the relationship stuff. So let's see.
Give me a charisma roll. You decide what kind of charisma it is, but this is a social relationship, so that makes sense.
The dice tell a story.
They
Did I
do.
tell a story?
So I'm looking through my charisma things, thinking of which kind of makes sense. I feel like for me it's going to be persuasion, which also is my best one, but more because she's trying to persuade Cinna to be like, it wasn't that big a deal, and gotta help me out.
You're trying to persuade him that like this relationship is still something worth pursuing. You know,
Gaslight
if your
girl
deception was
boss.
higher, if your deception was higher, and you were like, I think you were actually wrong. I didn't technically go into North Korea. It's actually, if you look at the map, you can still see that I was in South Korea. It's just that the border is just a little too far south.
May. I'm so sorry, Ellie. But before you reveal your role, May is all three of Gaslight, Gatekeep, Girl Boss. Yeah. The Gatekeep is with the Maharu.
Yes, has not shared that with anyone. Although, I will.
She would have shared that with Cinna.
Well,
she absolutely would have shared it with the others.
You have not told me that you mentioned your deep concerns to the Maharu. Just that they're like, there's this group that I'm kind of suspicious of.
I said that she would have told Cinna everything.
Okay.
I interpreted Ink's joke entirely different, as in May is very typical gatekeeping of a fandom of being like, you guys don't like Egyptian mythology the right way.
She's correct. She's correct.
You're not doing it correctly.
You don't have the tattoos, okay?
No, she absolutely would have told Cinna everything. And I also will say, even though I haven't specifically said it, she would have mentioned it to the others. Even if it's just like, these guys are fucking weird, I hate them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see this? Can you read what this says? No, get the fuck out of here.
That was a 5, which brings it up to a 10. So it is affecting her relationship with. I need new dice.
May is.
You get like a nat 20 once a session, all right? Sometimes it has to roll back.
Yes.
Ink does too.
Your dice are very swingy.
Yeah.
It's very low or very high. May is a bit scattered. She's always kind of lived her life ever since sort of setting out on her own, especially since her parents died and their relationship with Howard ended. A life of few attachments. Having a dig and then traveling, and then having a dig with new people, and then traveling, um, exhibitions and research and conversations. Never really kind of staying in the same place for long or focusing on the same thing for a long time. And I think in this time you've grown a little comfortable with the security and stability of having Sinner and these other kind of constants in your life. And so now with the dig site wrapping up for the season, your relationship with Sinner, Rocky, your concerns about your friends, this group you just took the trip on, and lingering concerns from Korea and this mystery, I think you just find yourself very scattered, um, unable to kind of really focus in on one issue and get it to a good place before other issues take your attention. With Sinner, you really try to work on your relationship. And the first step to that is really honesty and communication. And you talk about your relationship together, and uh, a fair amount of Sinner's dating history, but I think it sort of comes into a new light as you discuss these issues. Sinner lived, worked, operated in a very rough and tumble world where there was very little trust and very little safety. Even in his relationship with Isle, he was well aware that his job would probably eventually put him in conflict with Isle's parents, noted thieves and thugs. Well, he was a thug for hire. Wouldn't see Isle for months at a time, and when they did, not a lot of emotionally honesty or vulnerability, and that's been sort of the pattern. Sinner has always been aware of any of his relationships being tenuous and secondary. More than once, he has had a relationship where someone tried to leverage that to get at someone or something he was protecting, or, uh, you know, get an extension on a loan that he was supposed to beat someone up for. A lot of utilizing relationships in order to uh, get gain out of them, a lot of transactional relationships. And that means that Sinner has always been very guarded with his heart and with his feelings. May, May is the first relationship where he has allowed himself to be kind of vulnerable in that way, to not have his guard up, and it just kind of feel a little safe. And now, with May lying to him and putting herself in danger and really not trusting him or letting him in, it hurts in a way that the old relationships wouldn't hurt because he didn't care as much. And so there are two Sinners with you. The one you said goodbye to when you went to Korea, and the one fighting for locking off what he feels, putting May at a distance where he can't get hurt, because it doesn't matter if she lies to him or does other things to hurt him, because he's got to keep himself safe, number one. And he doesn't want to be that person anymore. He doesn't want to go back to that kind of relationship. But this issue has stabbed so deeply into his core, it's almost reflexive. And while you're talking about it, understand cognitively what the problem is. Emotionally, it's a much rockier issue. and in not letting Sinner know, in not informing him and entirely cutting him out of the loop, you in some way signaled to him that he wasn't worth knowing about this, that you didn't want to bother him or worry him from May's perspective, but that you didn't trust him from his. And trust is much more easily broken than it is won back. So I think with a 10, your relationship with Sinner is not nearly as rocky as it is when you first get back. You talk things through and you start to build that strength up again. But every once in a while, you can still feel Sinner emotionally pulling away and trying not to, as your relationship is still very fragile. And the only thing you can think of together to make it stronger is no more lies. Sinner has, with great difficulty, gotten to a point where he can be okay with May running off and getting into danger on her own. May Gladly is never going to be soft and delicate and needing of bubble wrap. But a May Gladly that doesn't tell him that she's going in danger when she knows well ahead of time is a May Gladly he's not sure he can continue to be hurt by. Not be in a relationship with, but be hurt by. And so while your relationship does certainly improve, if there's more dishonesty, it may break in a way that's not repairable. As you refocus on your relationship with Sinner, and you do this research, make these calls, send this letters to this very mysterious group, other things start to fall by the wayside a little bit. You're splitting your attention through the dig, trying to rush through cataloging the artifacts found and wrap up the dig itself for the season, so that you can focus. So you can focus more on Sinner and your research, and you feel like the government of Sudan has noticed a little bit that a lot of the wind down is being handled by your staff, and it's handled perfectly adequately. They just realize they have a little less of your attention now, and while that by itself would have not necessarily been an issue, you've of course had a personal emergency that required you to run to Korea. So while they are not disappointed in you overly, they're not super happy with your lack of attention in that way. And I think as well, when you discover this auction, you discover these ancient artifacts, you also realize that your attention has slipped a little bit from looking for new ancient sites to trying to protect possibly this world from the ancient technology. And I think you realize you've been slacking in that just now, as you have something else that needs to entirely take your attention. With that, is there anything May wants to add or ask about?
Yes. So after everything went down with Fish, and also on top of May trying to wrestle her own like professional working life somewhat into order and everything, she's definitely less so deliberately stepped back from Cal. Like, if Cal contacts her, she'll absolutely reply, but she's not actively avoiding Cal. Her preoccupied. Has very deliberately not contacted Fish. And Ink, I meant to message you about this earlier. I was thinking, if you're in agreement and if the context ever comes up for it, I'm 100% okay with Fish their connection powers to fix that.
You'll see.
Yeah, and I think besides that, yep.
I was going to say this anyway, so this ended up being perfect timing. But yeah, Cal absolutely would have not picked up on that. Like, I can't believe Cal sided with Fish, because Cal, even when she does, Cal never sides with Fish, not in her mind.
Yeah.
So she would have called her immediately, like, "Hey, you landed. How's Mr. Drum?" Like, all of that shit, and just give her like a usual call and stuff like that. And so I think, wouldn't have minded the distance or anything like that, and it's Cal, so it's not like she would have made a great amount of things, like, that's a girl talk, but I would have gotten the impression that Cal was like, yeah, like, you're good, do you need to complain to me about your terrible boyfriend? Yada yada yada.
Yeah.
Apparently he and Jamal are friends.
And
did you know this? Was this a multi-step betrayal?
Yeah, I think maybe in that initial call would have been cool in a way that you could also just put down to, it was a long trip, Cinder's angry with her, she's tired, but then would have warmed up pretty quickly. But yeah, so there's that. And I would like to very barely posit to you, Patrick, that the moment she decides China might be a place of interest, she picks up at least some bare bones Mandarin. Not fluent at all, but literally just being able to say, like, hello, where is X? I am May, etc.
Okay. I think that makes sense in the fact that your two roles were not very good. This is just another thing kind of distracting you. You know, important, but splitting your focus. Yes, give me an intelligence
or Cantonese,
roll.
rather. Actually, sorry, I should know this. At the time, though, it would have been... Was it Mandarin or Cantonese that was the majority language in China at the time?
The majority language at the time was Mandarin in this region.
Yeah.
Cantonese. Mandarin has actually made like a huge comeback in the last 50 years in this region. It used to be entirely Cantonese, pretty much.
Okay, cool. So Mandarin's fine then. Yep.
Okay.
Oh, and she just feels really bad all the time. She's not in a good way. That's what I need.
Yeah, give me an intelligence check. We'll say if you get above a 14, you've definitely gotten some very basic Mandarin.
Don't fuck this up. The fucking 11. I am on the brink of a 10. Can I use
tell story, baby?
You know, it's a tonal language, and it's just so difficult
boy, is it.
because of it. Yeah, you definitely try. You've got some really like book learning rudimentary Mandarin where it's like you might have to repeat yourself a couple times, but people will probably get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Then we will have, more scenes with May once we reconvene. But would Cal or Fish like to go next?
I did want to add that Cal definitely does invite May to the temple, probably around winter solstice. It's Christmassy. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We can get into details about what the specific, but yeah, I would say she definitely would be explicitly invited around where the time skip would end. Yeah.
Russo's hanging tinsel on a Christmas tree, and Cal's like, "Why is there a dead tree in my house?"
Yeah.
What's Christmas?
So I think it should go in the best order of what it would be funniest to reveal that
Yeah.
Which I'm just gonna do now. The fish is still in town.
Yeah.
Okay, fish is still in town.
That's the fish update.
Yeah, that's the fish update.
Okay.
What's
You want to keep
Fishman's
going?
priority? Being annoying.
You
Yeah,
want to keep going with fish?
sure. Let's
Okay.
go.
As fish, says, "Hey, Sinner, here's your May package. If you can see that she's safe. Anyway, see ya." Flying back to Montreal, and Fish has been in the United States for most of the last 2 years, various places, sometimes over the border into Canada, but mostly just kind of wandering a little bit. So I think Cal is not necessarily suspicious when Fish is on the same flight and gets off in the same airport as Cal. Suspicion probably goes a bit higher when you end up at the taxi stand together. And then, Cal probably has someone from her temple maybe picking her up, and then Fish is getting a taxi, and you just follow each other north, and then up into the mountains, winding away, and then finally, the very end, the dead end of this dirt road, Fish goes left, and Cal goes right, up the 1 mile to her temple. And Fish looks out at the small town that Cal is next to. Decided that for at least this next month, although hey, maybe longer, um, you are going to be in the town of Forsyth.
Yep.
I like to think this entire time Kekano is like, Cal, you're here too.
Coincidence!
Oh my god, Cal's still
Coincidence,
here.
you're here too! Kid's
Well,
like hanging his head out the taxi. Coincidence! Honk if you can hear me!
Yeah, the story the whole time is like, oh, what a coincidence. And Kagano's like, oh my god, it is a coincidence.
It's a great coincidence. As Fish gets into Forsyth, finds a tough old native woman, a widow, who has a extra room in the back of her house that Fish decides to rent. And you've got a month to kick around, chatting and hanging out with Kekino, maybe doing a little work, bothering Cal in the afternoons. A good life. What are your two focuses?
Primary focus is indeed establishing themselves in town, doing odd jobs for literally everyone. So it becomes, it's like, oh, there's fish. Building up money, even though it wouldn't be a very economically rich area, but still. Really just like settling on general life stuff and being quote unquote normal. And yeah, Kekano time, and then also, of course, dropping by the temple. At first, not very regularly, like for a week, it's like nothing. And then the first time Cal comes into town, perhaps, maybe it's like, oh, well, maybe I'll drop by sometime. And then by the time that we've hit the end of time skip, it's like, they're there every other day, just hanging out.
Then I would say, for your major focus, give me either a charisma-based roll or a wisdom-based roll, depending on what exactly you were trying to accomplish. I think wisdom is about more yourself, kind of settling into normalcy and kind of who you are in this time, with charisma being more like focused on people, convincing the locals to accept you, and getting these odd jobs done and things like that.
I guess it would be the townsfolk. So that would be wisdom.
No, that would be charisma.
That's the correct one.
Yes. A charisma roll if you're choosing.
Mm-hmm. A d20.
Dirty 20. Okay. With a dirty 20, you pretty quickly establish yourself. I mean, they don't get a lot of new people into this town. They're not particularly desirous of new people. It's a very small, insular, mostly native community. But as the new person in town, and very friendly, as well as someone who seems to be semi regularly visiting the strange group that have taken over the mine outside town, you become the object of some interest. It starts out by doing some chores and housework and things for your new landlady. Kekino munching the grass. Yum, 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 yum. Is it a little lawnmower? Um, and pretty soon you're introduced to her acquaintances as someone who can do things. You end up being an extra pair of hands in some handyman operations. You take an emergency shift at the small grocery store run by a cousin of hers. You just sort of become integrated into the town more and more. People start to recognize you. People start to greet you on the street. Probably not by fish. You probably have another name that they know you by. But you're becoming a familiar sight. And I think as part of that, you slowly start to incorporate your powers a little bit. There's a local jeweler who makes jewelry with local semi precious rock. And because it's so important to her, you can feel the connection she has with these, and you're able to identify a new seam of that rock. You can reunite people with lost items. You can really help someone get just a little extra life out of the truck they love and have connected to for 30 years. Almost becomes something of like a good luck charm as you help these people with all of their problems with a dirty 20. And you make a fair amount of money. More than enough to cover your rent, enough to have some spending capital on top. And you are integrated into this town. You feel welcome. You may have to come. You may have to come up with a more permanent living arrangement. But if you come back, you'll be welcomed as a loved visitor rather than a stranger.
And for the purposes of like really integrating the aliases, Fish is going by Dan Snapper.
All right. Dan Snapper. Yeah, that's you are integrated into the community. Cal does have to see you, or at least someone from the temple has to see you every time they get groceries. You honestly probably develop some like minor friendships and the beginnings of close relationships with some of Cal's temple members, because they're also seeing you way more often. Dan Snapper is becoming quite the man about town,
Yep. Not studying to be a cleric though.
Not
Does
as
Dan
far as
date? Does Dan fuck?
Dan does not fuck at this time.
Dan does not fuck yet.
Yes.
And with all of your labor, you acquire 210 gold for this
Nice.
month of intermittent but very successful work. What is your secondary focus?
So the whole Jonas thing, they are cognitively aware that there's something to confront, but not emotionally prepared for it yet. And so, in what they have like convinced themselves is preparing themselves, training for when they eventually try to connect with Jonas. It's more of a focus on just connecting with loved ones, friends, and stuff. But just
Mhm.
in general, like studying the threads and getting a better idea of them and their place in the tapestry of relationships and such, which would go towards helping with connection for the townsfolk.
Yeah. Okay. I would say give me an Arcana check, but with your Charisma bonus.
The charisma bonus being the +8.
+4 rather than +0 for
Gotcha.
intelligence.
Gotcha. Arcana then. Ellie, I'm sorry. You're another dirty 20.
Well, we know where all your luck went. As you start to explore, you find that your relationship with the townsfolk deepens your understanding of your magic, and your understanding of your magic deepens the relationship with your townsfolk. It's cyclical, and you find yourself in a nice routine of being able to meditate and commune with your dad and really explore the threads. Um, um, as you figure out these mechanics, how the threads actually work, you look deeper and deeper, and you've sort of found that the threads are, in some ways, infinite. It is only your perspective that is limited. You can conjure up the threads of your close friends much more easily now. You see the history of your relationship and moods. And as you learn to touch the threads, to pluck them, you start to get a more active sense, purposely recreating that ability you had before to locate and connect with these people. But as you really explore, you find that while these are your main threads, there are thinner threads branching off of them. People connected to the people you're connected with, as well as other people you're connected with in a more minor way. You see not only your connection with Sinner, but also Sinner's connection with May to a certain extent. A very fine thread just at the edge of your perception. And as you learn to look deeper and focus more, you can find even finer threads and finer, infinite depth, until you know if you were powerful enough in this, if you're strong enough, you could have connection with any person on Earth in the same way your dad does. Dad's helping you with this process, of course, helping you with meditation and guiding you. I think it really hits home for the first time what your dad has told you a couple of times now, and really now you're experiencing working with him with these powers, which is every single person who gets their powers through him has very different powers. It's a new time every single time, and he's learning about your own powers with you. There's no secrets he's gatekeeping from you. You're both on this journey together. and you learn that threads connect you not just on an emotional, interpersonal level, but also in other ways. You find these connections to the people from your vision during your Porphyry. People that share a magical connection to you, and to a certain extent, people that share a blood connection to you. You begin to get a sense of distant relatives and people who are not closely related, but you share a bit of blood with. And while you can't sense much about them through these threads, you can see that they exist. As you're working, though, you keep coming into this problem. Jonas was always an issue you were aware of. It was one that was swept under the rug, out of sight and out of mind. You know where his connection was. You know it was hidden from you. But you know that it wouldn't take too much to peel back that hidden layer and see the thread, feel the connection. And as with a dirty 20, as you deeply explore the way these connections work, you start to feel a little bit of that invisible pressure you get with Jonas on other threads. And I think that is what continues to inspire you to no longer keep it hidden under the rug. Do you peel back the invisibility? Do you see what Jonas is to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Before we get into that, though, I want to make it's a gag, but it is very much like canon happening. As Fish spends more time in Cal's temple, Rennie, do they have cupboards?
Oh yeah.
Okay, every now and then someone opens a cupboard and Fish is just standing in there, and it's like, okay, and they're like, hi. And they don't. There's no explanation for this.
There's no explanation. There's no acknowledgement. Every once in a while, it's not Fish, it's Kekino, which is a nice surprise.
Yeah. Yes.
I would like to add in tone of gags, absolutely. Or there's a point that like Fish is in the temple and is just like hanging out, helping people, being useful. And then Cal comes up to them and is like, hi, how are you doing? Thank you very much for being here. How's it going? You have a good day? And they're like, what the fuck? And it takes them to like, I don't know how long, but eventually they realize it's Rousseau, who's just like, oh yeah, sorry, I forgot to take the necklace. How are you doing?
Yes. When they fail to realize that it's one of Cal's replacements, they're like, oh, she's telling me to fuck right off.
I think there is definitely, I think that is a very valid interpretation, but I do think in general, like, Rousseau is absolutely like, oh yeah, Snapper's great, yeah. I just would be like, yeah, obviously it's me. I know you and Cal have such a strong connection. Oh, you didn't know? Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yep.
That's just amazing. We'll get to that.
Not being very good with, they're still learning to have to be like, oh yeah, Cleric Denia when someone else is around. That's that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Fish is like, Sister Denier. No, that feels wrong. Never do that again. As you peel back these layers on the thread, and you're finally ready to confront the effect Jonas has on you. You peel back this invisible effect, and the first thing you see is not a normal thread like you have with the others. It is misaligned, overgrown, grotesque, bubbling and frayed, covered in red and black and thick, so much thicker than the others. And Jonas says, "Fish, it's me, the devil. I'm here to convince you to do sin."
From the Bible.
No, as you peel this back, you reveal this truly cancerous growth of Jonas that had been hidden from you. And not just affecting you. See its tendrils having overgrown your own power, taken over it for his own uses, connecting to the others, connecting to your friends, to your allies, connecting even to people you haven't even met, that you have shared some connection to. As you peel away this hidden effect, this blanket that Jonas had placed on your connection, which in itself means that he must have or share your power. And you reinforced by ignoring. You see that the mass of Jonas's thread and connection with you is equal in size and weight to all your connections with everyone else combined.
Yep.
As you poke and prod at this new growth, you know that you cannot push too hard without Jonas knowing of it, but you know that you could reach out to him at any time. And as you try to wrap your hands around this connection, use these abilities you've been developing of sympathy and connection, something stops you. Truly, as a cancer takes your body and weaponizes it against you, Jonas has taken a significant chunk of your power and has weaponized it against you. Jonas may, in fact, know your own power better than you do, and has been using that to his advantage. You also find yourself continuing to dream visions, as you find yourself once again in a small town, you think. Once again, a perspective that's not yours. Cars heading past. As you, or the person you're embodying, sits by a trash can in front of an alley. You look for identifying marks like you did before. Make and model of the cars, people walking past. It could be translation, but you think they're speaking English. You do think even more now that this is somewhere in the United States. As two police officers come up to you. You know both of them. you feel that through this person, or rather, you knew no one and you knew another. The first officer is a friend of a friend of a family member. Is someone who is native to this town, grew up, became an officer here, name of Jack. And he kneels down next to you and says, "Hey, Henry, you getting enough to eat? Everything okay out here? I was talking to the Gavlos, and they think that, they could put you up in a room for the night if you want to get out of the cold." You hear yourself speak. You don't hear this person's voice. You hear your own, as they say, "No, I'm good, officer. Just leave me alone." And look up over the officer's shoulder to see the thing in the shape of the policeman you once knew. Face made of twitching, insectile legs, dripping fangs, smiles at you. Curls a long claw around Jack's shoulder. And you, Henry, whip around and focus on Jack. Say, "No, I don't need anything." They leave you alone. Hunker down by the trash can till they leave. Grab your things, move, but you know there's no escaping. You can run, but they always find you. Nothing ever changes. It's a local diner. Sometimes you can get food out of the trash, and as you run up and start rummaging, the door opens. The owner comes out. He says, "Hey, Henry, you all right there? You want something to eat? I can go get you something hot." And you see the black tendrils under his skin flowing through his body that Fish experienced. Effect of Jonas. And you wake up. Now that you've uncovered this connection you have with Jonas, this pulsating mass, I think you feel like maybe, just maybe, Jonas's connections can bleed through to you too a little bit. Clearly he's doing something. Why he would be connected with this kid, you think? You don't know. But maybe as you start to work to peel back the layers of Jonas's influence, maybe you can find out.
Yeah. Which is certainly something that Fish wants to do. They hate to experience these visions and dreams, but obviously, like, really come to empathize and identify with Henry, and it's like a protective instinct, kind of, but also fear. to venture out there and actually find them and make it real.
Yeah. You had visions of your dad before you met him, and now you're having visions of Henry. I think this is probably the first vision where you're absolutely sure that this is happening. Maybe it's not entirely current, but this is not a vision of the past. This is not something your dad is having you feel. This is really happening or has happened to someone. And somehow it is all tied up in Jonas.
And Fish does vaguely know what remnants are, so damn, town taken over by those guys. That sucks.
Mm-hmm. But the cop you saw was not a remnant, some sort of weird abomination creature. But yeah.
Interesting choice of words they use.
But yes, seemingly a very, for Ink context, a get behind me Bubba Moon situation.
Yeah.
And yeah, is there any other questions you would like answered or anything else to do in this time skip? Maybe since necromancers have something to do with remnants, maybe you're trying to go visit Jamal or the library and try and get a little bit of information out about this. But
they start with those pure intentions, but it always ends up just being like bothering Jamal.
Yeah.
He can't catch a break.
Mm-hmm. I don't know why, probably ADHD brain, but I was like, what would bother a librarian the most that is also the most, weird and chaotic? And I was like, having lunch while reading a book to try and find the secrets, and then being like, I actually hate the librarian, and then using, an egg as a bookmark, smashing it together and putting it back on the shelf. Yeah. Then I think we will shift to Cal and what Cal has been up to in the last month before we bring you all together for a solstice celebration. As Cal gets back to her temple and grapples with the frustration that Fish is now a neighbor, the first thing you find after you settle in is your birthday party. Jamal has thrown you a wonderful, wonderful birthday. Every file, every thing that has to do with running the temple has been removed from one of the sitting rooms, but out of Cal's reach so that she cannot work. And you've each given each other a fiction book. Now, Jamal has provided Cal with a very detailed historical fiction book, finding that backdooring Cal into reading fiction involves a fictional story that involves as many things to actually learn through reading as possible. And so you curl up with Jamal and a nice hot drink as you read about a court intrigue in medieval England. Main character is a woman who does notice a lot of the fashion at the time, which is excellently researched, as you can tell. And for Jamal, you've provided a gift as well, something to talk about. Cal doesn't really have fiction that she's read in her library other than the ones Jamal has already read. There's Chronicles of Narnia and a few other popular books. But you have a technically what is a necromantic religious text, but it is a series of parables and fables. Technically fiction, even if it does have religious messaging. And as you curl up with Jamal and have a very quiet birthday party, soft, he delivers your food from you from the kitchen, so you don't have to eat with the others. Nobody has to watch you eat. Just keeps everyone away. Keeps work at a standstill. You can just relax. Kisses your cheek. Yeah. Happy birthday, mon chéri.
Thank you. This has been perfect and perfectly calming after what I've been through, and I'm very grateful for it.
I can imagine. I just, wanted you to have a birthday for you, rather than one for Elise, or one that's more public.
I think Cal's probably wearing her partial veil, so she smiles up at him and is like, "Yes, no," and I deeply appreciate the calm, especially because it seems that Fish and Kekano have followed us to town.
Oh, well, I mean, I guess I suppose they're always welcome, at the temple, provided they make a prior appointment. I suppose Kekano being close is nice. Um, perhaps I should have invited him to
No.
your birthday party.
Oh, well, no, I like being here with you, and I do not mind that you didn't invite Kekno at all. Hopefully I will get... Well, it's difficult to know if I want to hope for more Kekno time or I wish to hope for his absence. But I wouldn't change this evening for anything. I am very grateful.
Glad you're having a good time. As the days pass and Cal settles back into being abbot and running her temple, there's a number of very small fires you need to put out, things you need to handle yourself. The temple never runs entirely the way you want in your absence. And Thassi and the new members are mostly integrated at this point. You are having a problem with the girl child, Adrienne. She has appeared outside your office multiple times now. Sometimes you're waiting for an appointment and person's a couple minutes late, but you hear arguing, so you open the door to find a very small child barring the way to your chambers unless they can provide identification. So that is a recurring problem, seemingly. But
I
yeah,
think
things pass and there's no major emergencies.
in regards to Adrian, at some way, Cal's like, I need to speak this small child's insane language, and she's basically like, what are your qualifications?
I have been training ever since I was very, very small in dagger work, and I have other skills, climbing, running. I'm really good at climbing. I can get into small spaces, so if you need me to attack anyone, and the only way in is perhaps an air vent or something like that, I can really get in there. I will protect you with my life.
No, all right. That's good to know. I understand. Thank you for informing me. I mean, of course, no temple works that someone gets immediately hired to the highest positions. So, I would need you to see you work for others lower in status at the temple before I could give you the assignment of protecting my bedchambers. So if you want to work on that, we can reconvene about this at a later date, but I cannot simply hire you to immediately. You didn't even have any interviews with my clerics or anything like that. It's very, I hate to say it, unprofessional.
I have been building threat assessments of the other clerics and acolytes. So I have been interviewing them in some ways. But if you would like to use my skills elsewhere, just tell me who you would like to assign to me.
Well, I would like to see you protect your mother first and foremost. You already know all of her habits, and so that should be very easy for you to do. Tail your mother and give reports back to her to me and keep her safe from harm and make sure that she is being treated with respect by everyone else here at the temple. Things that's very important to me. And then, depending on how that assignment goes, I'll move you up to one of my higher clerics.
I don't think you've seen a child stand at attention like a military officer, but as you're describing this obviously very important mission, her eyes just get bigger and bigger and bigger, and she says, "Sister Denier, it will be done," and marches off to keep an eye on her mom. The reports are perhaps a little too frequent and very detailed, and have and a disconcerting habit of just kind of like showing up on your desk in amongst much more important paperwork.
She started
But
working with the cat.
yes, but that does sufficiently distract her from at least interfering with the business of the temple. So that does succeed. Um, with what are your primary and secondary focuses?
I'll start with the secondary. I want to be strengthening relationships of people within the temple in general, with Jamal being like one particular focus. I was actually talking about this with Patrick, and I was like, that would make sense to where we're going from what I've established narratively for the past few sessions, but I'm also like, Cal fucking sucks, so it's very hard to get her motivated to have something be improved. Trying to communicate. But then I found out from Patrick that the intention was for Fish to move into town, and I went, aha, there you go. Because the last thing Fish said to her was, sounds like a real healthy relationship you have there. And she'd go, I'll show you. It'll be the healthiest relationship you've ever seen.
Oh wow, so it's like healthy relationship just but by performance entirely.
Correct.
And like, she's getting the math correct, or she's getting no, she's not. The math is being done in a really weird way, and she's somehow getting the correct answer. And I don't think it's bad. I don't think Jamal is complaining about it at all, because the results are ultimately positive. But it is a little. It is. I'd say around the range of 30% performative.
Yep.
Because she's a psychopath. And we love her.
She's. Mace said, I'm gonna ruin my relationship. Hold my beer. Alright, should I go ahead and roll for that one, Patrick?
Yes, I think that would be a charisma roll.
Okay. And okay. So would that just be my regular addition to charisma, not like a specific one?
Choose a specific one.
Okay.
You can be like deception, and it's going to be like, I'm going to pretend to be my sister so I can be bubbly with these people, and
Yeah.
oh god, that's tiring. Or persuasion, getting to know them better. Performance, being the abbot they expect.
Hey, you know what, Ellie? I'm gonna make you feel so much better. Because that was also an outline. But I was already gonna do with persuasion, so +6 for a 7. She's
All
doing
right.
so good.
Cal is not the most how do I say this? Cal is not the most interpersonally gifted person. Um so a lot of the early kind of trial and error of getting to know the members of your temple and getting them to be closer with you and with each other, it starts with a lot of awkwardness, a lot of people reacting like they're getting assessed for something when you try to have a conversation with them. Um, but over time, you not really give up, but decide to put it in the hands of people who understand these things a little bit better than you. So Jamal and Rousseau start helping you with this mission. You approving of some events for the temple to get together and do together cohesively. Um, uh, Making sure that everyone is dining together and that the tables switch up every now and again so people don't always sit in the same place. Really working on using the information that Adrienne has gotten you to integrate your new members into the temple and make them feel welcomed. Um, it probably stings a little bit because you know how all of your work behind the scenes has kept this temple running, but what is making it operate a little bit more like a well-oiled machine is people being nice and friendly to each other, something that inherently does not come naturally to Cal. But the temple just starts to work better. Things are happening more efficiently. Repairs and work is getting done. Training and classes are happening on time, and people seem happier. The mood has definitely risen here as people seem to be showing more loyalty to the temple too. You overhear and in your reports from your short spy, um, you just hear a lot more people talking about um, their experiences and their relationships with people at this temple rather than, reminiscing on previous temples and things like that. Starting to think of themselves as kind of this whole rather than still new clerics of a newly established temple. For Jamal specifically, with a 7, the birthday goes pretty well, and you already had this conversation with Jamal about what are my deficiencies and what can we work on. He made you a list, and which is cross-referenced based on specific incidents to give examples. The major one seems to be a certain lack of feelings of intimacy, and you agree to, when it's just you and Jamal, show your face a lot more often, not wear the veil when it's just the two of you, so he can see you. And with a 7, I think at the end of the month, you have moved to Jamal kissing your hands becoming a more common occurrence. Anything farther than that, including, kissing that on the lips that happens more frequently than, 6 or 7 times a year is obviously too terrifying so far. So taking it very slow, but definitely doing good in that respect. And as Fish is visiting to bothering you, Fish is noticing the mood improve, and Cal is taking walks with Jamal through town, doing laps around the
Conveniently,
house.
only
Fish
when
is,
there's already been a report that Fish is out in town.
yeah, making laps outside the window of the room Fish is staying in, holding Jamal's hand, probably too tightly.
The landlady knows Cal and Jamal by name now.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, it's your
absolutely.
friends. Your friends are outside. That's your
Yeah.
ex-girlfriend.
She tells Fish
Yes.
every single time Cal and Jamal have been seen in town. It's like, oh, you just missed them. um, what is your primary focus?
So Cal's primary focus, which, God, I hope I rolled shitty to get that one out of the way, is kind of expanding her temple as a sort of place for knowledge and open distribution of knowledge, being a safe place for people, especially off the larger temples, to be able to come in and kind of get the newest report on necromancer issues, including being very open about this black dog issue and the target of smaller temples. As Patrick said, kind of a necromancy library of Alexandria. I'm making it very clear that there is no cost. You don't have to sign up to be loyal to your temple or give her anything monetarily or anything like that to be able to get information. But the idea of the more you get trusted for providing information and being willing to provide information and give updates, the more you will have access to at this temple. And kind of creating a new, more open sitting room for that. It does still, is kind of protected from the rest of the temple, so there is no kind of concerns about anybody with ill intentions being able to get into the heart of the temple and hurt anybody. But this is a new sitting room that is very open, of being hey, even if you are slightly more aligned with pagan, you can still come in here and kind of hear what the newest news is and get tea and read some of the tomes and stuff like that. Which also has a spell on it, which allows people to communicate in any language.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
A hollow spell has now been cast on this area to keep threats out and to allow speakers of different languages to communicate fluently with each other within its bounds, as well as a second one being placed on Cal's office with different effects. I know what I'm doing. I unfortunately, what you have chosen is too appropriate. So make a kind of intelligence check.
Okay. Let's see.
I want to use, say, your +9 to religion that you have now.
Oh, no, honey. I have a +11.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that +11 to religion.
Remember when I said Cal's broken now?
So broken. That's a 27.
That's just the typical roll.
There's other ways to be broken now too.
Oh yeah.
I think I was
we'll
like,
get
yeah,
into,
the
we'll
spell,
get into
whatever.
it.
That's a necromancy thing. That makes sense.
And then I was like, so I can chain them together these ways? And he was like,
I was like, shit. Fuck.
yeah, you can. Shit. All right. Yeah.
Okay, well, with a 27, you
Made
put
up for my nat
the
one.
you put the word out. as you put Jamal in charge of the library and the information collecting, and as you put probably Rousseau in charge of the interior decorating and diplomacy, um, you start to get some necromancers coming out of the woodworks. You even become aware of small clusters, isolated communities, some extended family groups who escaped the collapse of the temples up north and have hidden away in small towns. Things that people you were searching for when you were trying to found this temple. That the word has gotten out, and well, because of the risk to what's happening in the wider world, some of them are a little more enthusiastic about joining you. Um, your while recruitment is not something that you are emphasizing with a 27, there's certainly more interest in being part of your temple. Um, you make a lot of inroads with specifically the uh, temples that are on the fringes, temples that the others don't care about, temples that are a little bit too far into heresy, but not important enough to ever be crushed. Temples that aren't part of the larger network of um, loyalty and respect that characterize, the net of temples that pagan has influence over. A lot of individuals and individual organizations coming to you and banding around you. As well, although they are a much smaller group than they are elsewhere, there are some necromancer adjacent groups, death cultists, here in Canada and the United States, some down into Mexico and Central America, trading letters with you and sending you information and things like that, becoming a little more open and connected with you. Um, with a 27, you find that the attacks and this symbol are far more prevalent than even Reith knew. It's pretty clear that a lot of temples and a lot of groups thought this was an individual problem that they were dealing with, some kind of weird stalker creature, not knowing that it was part of a larger trend. So they didn't know to share this with anybody. But you find that it is much more common than has been thought, these attacks. And as you and Jamal start to map them together, you see that the attacks are spread out in distance, but not a ton in time. There tends to be a bunch of them at once, and then kind of a dead period, and then a bunch of them at once. But in all different places, including sometimes at different places in the world. You've been able to confirm that one attack on the Koreans you were speaking to happened within a few hours of an attack that happened in the United States. Um, it can only lead you to, with a 27, either there is actually multiple of these black dog-like creatures, or strangers that are hunting necromancers, or it is possible that this is such a powerful kind of being of death that it is using the realm of death to move about. As we said, distances are much shorter in death, and while it is very, very rare for something to be able to kind of easily dip in and dip out, if you could, you could be one attacker doing this. With a 27, some of the other temples have noticed the symbol as well and done their own research, again, assuming it was an individual problem. And a couple of them have additional records to add to what you have seen. Just general information about the triumvirate. There are a couple of small organizations who are absolutely convinced that this is real and has always been real, and this is actually a group. And then the bigger, more respectable ones who are like, somebody is claiming to represent this kind of fable-like organization. As you get these records and get access to this wider net of information with a 27, the triumvirate has 3 members. Nothing in the legends that you find says that they know each other or work together or is an actual organization. These are just the 3 big evils for necromancy, whether metaphorical or physical. And you find decently uh, decently accurate or potentially trusted records saying that there was in this region there was someone named the researcher who claimed to be a triumvirate in this one story, yada yada yada. There's a bunch of different names that seems to be either different people or different beings or creatures or something taking over the mantle if it is a real thing, or if it's just a fable, if it's just a parable, different people kind of claiming it for themselves, or different people being identified with as a big villain in necromancy. The one exception is that you, with this expanded network, are able to find records of the abomination specifically as the triumvirate of body, which is supposed to represent essentially trying to overcome death by physical engineering. The legends is this mad wizard tried to turn himself into a super zombie so he could live forever, kind of thing. That's what it's supposed to represent, is the desire for necromancers to maybe want to do something like that, and why that's evil and can't. The abomination is genuinely consistently in the records as being the only name for this one being for pretty much ever. It's 2,000 years more that it is just consistently in the record over and over and over again, and there never seems to be a different name for this specific kind of position. As all of this information flows in and you start to make sense of it, you find that your kind of necromantic community is growing, and the messages from the European coalition of progressive temples that Wreath belongs to is they give you some updates on things, and they're fairly nice. They seem to be a little more accepting of you, becoming a little bit more of a player on kind of the political stage of necromancy. Unfortunately, the forces allied against you, mostly Tinnitus and Aralak, as well as Pagan's temples, are not happy about it, but at least cannot do anything overtly about it to fuck you over. And you're still very regularly getting messages from Sister Tale with infrequent but semi-regular updates about exactly what Tinnitus is doing and planning. as the month comes to an end, and you have sent out these invitations for a solstice party, maybe if you're petty, you like mailed it to Fish's old address, so it has to bounce across 2 countries before it gets to them, like literally 2 miles away. Um, um, but and then Kekanos is hand delivered in a very
Yeah,
nice
I was gonna say,
Um,
Kekanos is hand delivered.
um, but your sister actually comes to visit. Um, Elise has come to see you and to check up on Callista. So Jesse is visiting right now because Claire is a little too busy to make the trip at this exact moment. But yeah, you're visiting with Jesse and Callista and Elise, who's been checking over her health and then spending some time with you and hanging out. Um, this is something that really started over the 2 years and has only become more and more relevant. But Elise, you have to not hang out with Elise in the central meeting room or your office because she has now started being followed around by. They look like 2 little globes of light, but when you look at them closely, they're little, seemingly kind of like infinitely spiraling metal rings with little wings that are following her around. You've seen her summon these before. They're denizens of the realm that she draws her magic from, and they are celestials, celestial beings. Uh, they are repelled by your hollow spell. So when Elise tried to do something really dramatic, where she was retiring for the night, and she had these 2 little essentially angelic beings bring her coat to drape on her dramatically, they hit the edge of the hollow spell and bounced off. So now you can't have meetings there, obviously, not when Elise is present, because that's just embarrassing. Um, um, as over the 2 years, some very pointed reminders and disapproval from you and Jamal and a couple other people has meant that she has quietly, without ever admitting a mistake, de-emphasized the eugenics part of her magic to now focus more on she does not think it's wrong, she's just doing it because people are seemingly have a problem with it, and she is still doing it, just not as loud as or publicly, but is focusing more on where her powers come from, where she gets this energy, this realm of life and birth that is the opposite of the realm of death, that produces these beings that she can. These ones seem to be a little more intelligent than animals. Some others she reports are more human-like. Give me a. Oh, you made a religion check for your 27, right? I'll just use that. These beings in this dimension that she's discovered are really close to descriptions of Judeo-Christian angels, and everybody has agreed that while you all know that, nobody's going to mention it because she also knows it and wants to ignore that this clearly means that at some point in the past somebody else discovered this kind of magic and it created these legends about these creatures. So she has to have discovered it, which is why nobody talks about the fact that when she was like, yes, this is a new type I discovered, and just showed like a male with no genitals and big like dove wings and a halo, and you were like, yeah, never seen anything like that before. But she is.
This one looks like a baby.
Yeah, this one looks like a
Wow.
baby, and it's a cherub with little wings, and it's like, oh shit. Yes, it is impolite to point out that Christianity has her beat by a couple thousand years. As as she's been re-emphasizing like this part of her power, her power has continued to grow and change. And she started publishing just a little bit um, about her powers, being far more careful than she was previously to censor the dangerous things, as she failed to do before, leading to the whole issue. But yes, these beings seem to be kind of a channel through which she gets some of her healing magic and such like that, and through kind of like gentle, non-harmful experiments with them, you've learned a little bit more about how her healing specifically and kind of the magic channeling works. But she's up here for a visit, and unfortunately, she now has to work because she didn't bring the kids, and this is more than a social visit, it's a work visit. In the last few months, she has started opening up little missionary chapels up north here, small little communities where she can proselytize for her religion. With your permission, you're kind of staying out of each other's way religiously, but she's trying to get mortals and magical people into her religion more. Um, and she says that she has come to deal with something personally because the attacks you warned her about have started happening to her little temples. And she is coming to deal with it personally because you said it was a scary, dangerous thing. And she knows nothing more dangerous than she is. So she's here to go deal with it herself.
She's gonna go do the equivalent, go to the dog and go, "Arr!" And be like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. You think that's scary? You think you got a big bark? But yes, you have spent some nice time with Elise. She has no idea what this black dog thing is, but also that's kind of a scholarship issue, not a natural talent issue. So, of course, she doesn't know what it is. You're like, yeah, of course you don't know. Read a book. Yeah, you spend some nice time with Elise. Is there anything you want to do with her while she's here?
This is just for my fun and laughter. Does she interact with fish at all?
Probably. If
They have
Fish is around that
they
much,
have a
yeah.
birthday party, yeah.
Oh, the birthday party happens?
Yeah.
Wasn't okay.
I think
Yeah.
does Fish just like straight up lie and be like, "It's my birthday yesterday," and it's like 3 weeks after your actual birthday.
Yeah. Or like no, maybe not even lie, but just like, hey, it was my birthday also.
Oh, Fish dear, I'm so sorry. Would you like me to plan a party for you? That sounds like so much fun. Callie, the mission, we can delay it. It'll only take a couple hours. Yes, I know my people are in trouble, but parties come first, as they say. Parties come first. Say it with me. PCF. Parties come
Parties
first.
come first.
Right. Thank you, Fish. Okay, so yes, let's see what kind of materials we're working with. I assume there is a florist and perhaps a source of balloons in town.
Don't you
Well-
need to plan these things?
I've become quite good friends with the florist in town, actually.
Oh, that's excellent. Oh, wonderful. Well, you know what? If you're close with the town, maybe we invite a couple of your little friends to the birthday celebration. Doesn't that sound nice? And Callie can be a nice way for the community to kind of like get to know you all, and maybe explore some of the more public areas of the temple. This is like clearly like modern Elise being like, yeah, I'm always trying to get people to join my religion, completely forgetting old necromancer Elise being like, anybody who sets foot in this temple better be a necromancer or I'm gonna shoot him.
Mm.
So, but yeah, she goes all in. She's very enthusiastic about this.
In an effort to like protect the townsfolk, Frizz was like, "Oh nah, look, it's not really a magic type thing."
Oh Well, it's very special, and it's important for people to see, you and all of your glory, I suppose. A birthday is a celebration of me, by which me I mean, the person celebrating the birthday, so you in this case. Um, and yes, no, it's just a wonderful time. Yes, is there any activities or foods you would like? Let's put together a planning committee. Callie, if you'll give me a notebook and a pen, we'll see how. Yes, and then we'll. Oh, my preferred caterer in this area doesn't really deliver up this far. It's about 60 miles outside his normal limit. But
Damn.
he
Well,
owes
I
me a,
guess he's just not
he
good
owes me
enough.
he owes me a favor, so I really think we can get some very good catering in here. Callie, no offense to your, I'd say chef, but food cleric, I guess. Chef seems a little pompous for the dining here. Anyway, yes, let's get this party started. Jesse, are you gonna stay for the party? Yeah, okay. Yeah, excellent. And let's get this happening. She throws a decent size party that is, not entirely about her, but she's certainly a focal point.
I'd
uh,
like to roll something for Fish to distract well enough for Cal to actually not have to participate.
Yeah.
Okay. Give me probably a deception or performance check. And
Let's do performance because Fish sings.
yeah.
They do a number or 5.
Yes. Fish sings. Kakano gets to rent a little suit, and he's just a little line dancer in front of you, just going.
It's the count. It's the count. It's the count.
Count,
No, that's 19, by the way.
We've met you already. With a 19, Cal with her fairly high stealth is able to not leave without being noticed, at least definitely notices she's gone at some point, but you sufficiently distract her that Elise can never go, now where's Callie hiding? Let's go find her. You really keep juggling her in a direction that points away from Cal, and Cal gets to have a nice evening.
I feel like Fish could play the game oh, well, she's no fun anyway.
Oh, just because it's true doesn't mean you should say it. That is my sister.
Oh, come on, it's just between us. Etc.
Yep.
Elise goes, "What is this? What is this funny business between you two?"
Another of Elise's clerics probably dies because she stops to plan this party instead. Yeah, and just to have a great time, big party, and yeah. Oh, Mamba, I
Does
love
Jamal
you so
stick around?
truly. I think Jamal is jumping back and forth between the party and checking on Cal, probably out of a fear that the party should not be entirely unsupervised. But yeah, he's there, but he's also spending a lot of time with Cal. Cal's deal is probably working on temple administration stuff / reading, and is just having to deal with the noise from far
there's
away.
a silence with her bedchambers.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you want to use that? Absolutely.
Also, to be kind to Jamal, he gets to have Kekano for the duration, so it's just party time, Cal time, party time, Cal time, but also...
They're just shuttling Gekino back and forth.
Yeah. Jamal's like, "Do you want me to let you down so you can hang out with your dad?" And Gekino's like, "I'm apparently supposed to stick to you like glue, so I get to see Dad and I get to see Cal in equal measures. It's called joint custody, I guess." And Jamal's like, Yeah.
Jamal.
But also, it's just a nice opportunity for the two of them to get along, because
Yeah.
Yeah,
on.
stepdad.
Yeah, they get to hang out. Jamal has Jamal's like formal clothing in the temple now is essentially exactly what he wore before, with like a nice turtleneck. It's just instead of like in earth tones, it's now just in black and white. He just essentially desaturated his wardrobe to become a necromancer, but he does have like a formal robe that he wears over it. You know, the one that everybody else wears, but he just kind of wears it open. You know, he's not a cleric yet. He's in training, and he's kind of too busy to not be comfortable most of the time. But he takes it and he wraps the robe around to make like a papoose for Kekino. He takes him around the party and feeds him finger sandwiches and you know, dances with him sometimes before taking him back to Cal. Yeah, it's rambunctious
Also-
and wild.
Cal absolutely calls May and just being like, I need you to understand, Fish is going to tell you we threw a party without you. You can hear it. I did not have any part of this.
Yes. We did not throw a party without you. Elise threw a party without you. It has genuinely been like maybe 7 hours between the idea of a party and like now midway through the party.
At some point, Elise like bursts through the door and is like, May's not here! And Cal's like, yeah. I'm on the phone with her. And she's like, oh, give it to me. I'm so sorry. We'll throw a new party in 3 weeks. Do my
So where are you on your cycle? You should be
Yeah.
like.
I can help with that when you come here. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Have you
just
been
a
taking the
little-
iron supplements I recommended? And you've been doing the meditations and the jade egg. The jade egg is very important, May.
Jesus.
I mean, we did change Mr. Drum's undergarments, didn't we? I did say that was very important. Just making sure.
Jesus.
You can't have things too tight. They need to breathe. It's important.
Yep.
Yep. As everyone suddenly remembers why, as much as they may like Elise on an interpersonal level, they don't want her around that much. The party settles down. She leaves the next day. And is there any scenes we want to run before May potentially heading out to reconvene? Cute boy. Reconvene with the others for a winter solstice party / hey guys, we need to go to China.
Oh, y'all ready for another international trip?
No, I just want to impress. I think I made this fairly clear last season, but Fish hates Elise.
Yeah.
But they can still get on so well. Like, me and the bestie, I genuinely hate that bitch so much. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, just so like having a great fun time while she's here, and then when she's gone, it's like, fine.
And I think Cal was just like very confused by it, but grateful because was very worried they were going to start fucking when they first met, and was having to like would need to beg on her knees to be like, do not touch them. So at least grateful that never happened. Confused why it didn't.
We'll never
Fish
know.
never seems to open up about it, and she doesn't really want to pry. But when like she's like, "Ah, it was a party," and Fish is like, "Ah, great. Fucking glad your sister's gone though." And she's just like, "Yeah, she does overstay her welcome."
Yeah, we were together all night. It fucking sucked.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
I did it all for you. Did you get your stupid homework done?
I did. No, I got a lot of work done. Kekno visited me, which I would assume was your idea, and I'm grateful for that.
Mm. Later, find Fish standing in a cupboard again. Once
Yeah.
again,
Like
mysteriously.
mid-party cleanup.
Also, I wanted to say I like the when Cal makes her like language room and her like reception. Anytime she can, just actually go in there to meet with somebody. Fish is always there as Cleric Snapper and be like, "Hey, Dan Snapper, Cleric Snapper."
Yeah.
I do.
Oh,
You're from China.
yeah, fully using cleric already. Just
Yeah.
no, don't give a shit.
Very probably upsetting Cal a lot about claiming a title you don't actually have, which was fun for the little introduction, and now it's like you're actually coasting on the hard work of others.
This was my fault. You didn't even take your entrance exam. All right, that's all I got. I want to see May.
Yeah, we got to have May time.
I mean, I guess the only thing would be saying goodbye to Cinna, but if that was going to be included in her heading out anyway, then.
Yep. Do you before the party, before heading out, are you like keeping them updated on the mysteries you're uncovering? Are you like, we got to get to China?
Maybe when Cal sends out the invitation, May would be like, "Oh, this is good timing because I actually need to talk to you guys." But because she's coming up with so little that's concrete, besides letting Cal know that she's following up on this stuff, she's like, "Well, I've got really nothing of substance to tell you, so like, yeah, I won't waste your time when you're running a temple with me failing at research."
I think Cal would actually feel a little sad about like forehead crumble, and she's being like, "Well, all right, do as much as you can on your own, and then I do have people I'm thinking are some of the least strongest researchers for necromancy in Canada, if not further beyond that. We'll figure something out. Jamal is incredibly talented."
Yeah, come be research buddies.
May will take her up on that then.
I don't care that you're busy running a temple. Come be research buddies.
I
think
I was like, I'm not leaving my house. Come hang out with me in silence. My favorite activity.
I think also Cal being like outside of it, being someone who Cal and Jamal being people who like really know and understand research, but not being like super frustrated because they're not the ones coming up empty at every turn. May is just like, yeah, I can't find anything, and it's so terrible. And the two of them are like, you got like reliable records out of communist China? Wow. Like it's really like it's so clearly not your fault that like you're not getting these records, and May is just too frustrated to see that.
Yeah. And she like it wouldn't occur to her to reach out to Cal because it's not necromancer related. She's like, why would Cal know? Why would Jamal be able to pick up anything about a company in China? Like, it just doesn't occur to her.
Yeah, I think
like,
if they had that conversation
of
being like,
at any time.
I didn't think I would be like, you do know I stole Jamal from a general researching job, correct?
Jamal has his master's in library science.
He does. That's my boy.
Yeah. If you want to, even before the solstice party, come out and be like, let's do a little research and have this party, and also maybe we go to China.
Yeah. I was like, oh, you need help researching? Oh, we were doing a shindig anyways, blah 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 blah. Also, Fish has been here for the last month and driving me insane.
Yeah, Fish has been here the whole time.
Yeah, May's like, cool, great. Clearly unhappy about the idea. But yeah, no, she's eager to make use of Cal's offer.
Okay. Do you tell Sinner you're going to China?
Yes, May would be like, here is the plan, which is really a vague plan. Basically, go to Guangzhou, I somehow acquire these artifacts, profit, I come home.
Yeah, he did previously warn you when you were going to South Korea. He was like, as long as you don't go to China, it's fucking dangerous there. And then you're like,
and May couches it with like that. I know you said not to go here.
Yeah.
But I think I have to.
And he's also like, well, I mean, China itself is dangerous, but it's mostly South China because the Republic has not entirely given up. There's an insurgency coming out of Southeast Asia. A lot of them are jumping over the border from Cambodia and such to do strike raids across the border and kill a bunch of people. And oh, you will be in the South? You'll be right in that area? Okay.
Yes. But then she's like, but I am telling you. See what I'm...
Yeah, he definitely doesn't like it, but like you actually telling him and being totally upfront with him is like such the right move in this situation. Like as long as he knows what the worries are, it's okay. You know, he makes you promise like, you know, you got to try and convince Fish and Caligulus and anyone else you can bring with you to just have your back and be safe. You know, make sure you have reached out to maybe some of your friends in the British sanctuary. You know, let them know where you are in case there needs to be some diplomatic solutions. You know, you get stuck or jailed or something. That's unfortunately happening a lot over there. Yeah, just be very careful, May.
Yeah, May absolutely will take that advice on board and will do it. And is like, I'll do my best, and I'll be in contact as best I can. If I suspect I won't be able to be in contact with you, I'll let you know. Is like really doing her best to be like to make up for it.
He just kind of offhandedly says like, I trust you. And then he stops for a moment and he's like, I do trust you.
May kisses him. Like, it means a lot to her.
Yeah, there's a, you know, a slight hesitation. Sinner does not like... Sinner is not like so quick off the starting line every time you go to show affection to him anymore. So there is that ever so slight hesitance, but he still meets you before you can complete the kiss. You do know that in the time where you were having a bit of a rough patch, Sinner did request Prime Minister Osman to kind of take a step back and not be his like chief bodyguard, to kind of like run things with his team for a little bit and just let somebody else step in. Just, you know, personal issues have me distracted, and he refused. So he was like, I understand you're going through something personal. You know, if you want to talk about it, we can. You're my bodyguard, and I want you to stay my bodyguard, which is perhaps a little embarrassing for me that like your boss's boss who runs this country is like knows what your relationship problems are, but you know, take what you can get.
The price you pay.
Yeah. So Sinner does still have all of his work and really does need to focus on that, and you can tell that between your relationship not being 100% yet and you going to a dangerous area, it is going to continue to distract him. But he is like consciously making the choice of being like, she did what I asked. She told me everything. She confessed it all. I can let her go and know that maybe something will happen, but I can trust her to, you know, hopefully take care of herself. So he's not happy about you going to China, but the fact that you confided in him and told him everything, even said the reasoning of like, oh yeah, we don't want another benefactor situation. That's a great reason to go to China. You can't like send someone else in your stead. No, you already looked into that. You're sure? Okay, then yeah, I guess you have to. Maybe stay in like in Hong Kong and just like go over the border every day. I don't know, maybe, you know, just like he's just like giving you advice to try to keep you safe. You know, we kind of brainstorm these things, but you know, he does let you go with a very fond farewell. And
May specifically tells him that she'll be it's like I don't know what the right verb would be. I guess using the sensory stone they both have every night.
I will too. Yeah.
And this time, May, a little bit more aware about what's going on in China than Korea, is going to pack a more subtle low-key wardrobe that is not
No film
Yakuza
equipment?
vibes. And then more like no like white linen suit and hat. Much
Yeah.
more like low-key vibes this go around. Lots of
Mhm.
arm length covering the tattoos. Turtleneck. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And yeah, with your fond farewell, knowing that Sinner is hurt but seemingly very committed to making it work, you head out to go meet up with the others. And you get to Cal's temple, probably a day or two early before the party to get some research done, and then Fish is there. It's like, Fish, I didn't know you came out early, and it's like, came out early. I live
No,
down there.
Cal told her that
Yeah.
Fish was malingering.
Yeah.
They've started doing this thing where they like hide in a cupboard and wait for you to open the cupboard and they go, hey.
Why?
I don't know. I thought they were trying to startle people, but I've asked and they haven't like jumped out at anyone. They just do it. I don't know.
Well, it's not like they'd give you a straighter answer anyway, even if you did ask.
No.
Where am I putting my
You ask
bags?
one of the other clerics, and they're like, I think Dan Snapper is just going through something right now.
Yeah.
I want to make a note that most of the times when fish is found in a cupboard, they're like going concentrating as if like they're thinking real hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this is what they're doing. This is where they go to think.
Yep.
I thought you were gonna say is that they were concentrating. I like our Bigfoot Terry appearance. I thought they were concentrating on their connection magic to somehow bring like Cal to open the cupboard.
If prompted with that, it's like, oh, I bet it's some connection magic bullshit. It's like, yeah, absolutely it is. Yeah, you got me.
Everybody just gets used to being fish looking disappointed or confused when they open the cupboard instead of them, and they're like, "Who are they waiting for?" Cal offers her room to stay in for May.
May is immediately like, oh, where are you going to sleep? In
Also
brackets, in Jamal's room?
Yeah.
In brackets, are you going to sleep?
Bitch.
Also that.
I have a little fainting couch. It's right there. Jesus.
I just, it's too short for me. I just curl up.
No, May would have, if May knows they're going to China, she might have brought her pack, to be honest. Her like enchanted sleeping roll that feels like a mattress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hmm.
You're on like you get into Cal's temple, and the like stone has been leveled so people don't trip on it, but it's still stone, and you just put your pack right on the rock and just go
Perfect.
Okay.
Like being back in Cairo.
Yes.
And Cal would be like, "Do you need a rest? Do you want to have Jamal start
Sorry,
on
I thought
research
my
for
mom
you?"
was gonna steal your lemon bar.
May
Wanna say hello to Fish?
May says, no, I'd like to absolutely get going on the research with Jamal. Much to discuss. And then as they head down to wherever he is, maybe we'll like give her the full details of the fuckery that is trying to get information out of China.
Yeah, and Cal will be very interested and like listening attentively, and is like, does she explicitly say like this is for JONAS?
Yeah. She'll be like,
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then she'll casually be like, so I know that I know that we're having a little holiday. But I'm terribly sorry to say I'm about to pull a fish and ask if you would come with me to China.
For follow up on this whole thing with Jonas, just like further investigation?
tangentially related, explains the auction stuff and says, my concern is that depending on what these artifacts are, we could end up with another benefactor situation rather sooner than we hoped, depending on who gets their hands on these artifacts.
No, you're right. Well, it wasn't too badly derailing last time when we went on that little trip before, and I'll run the numbers with Jamal and the rest of my staff. But if we can keep it brief, I see no reason I can't come.
Oh, I will be doing my best to keep it brief, particularly because I have significantly less money than the last go round. So,
you haven't been spending time restocking the coffers?
No. I've been wrapping up the dig and trying to convince Sida not to break up with me, actually. So it's kind of been low on my list of priorities.
Rare, very deep show of emotion, even through the veil. She goes, "You what? It's me?
What did you say?
He doesn't deserve you. Who does he think he is?
How? On what grounds?"
On the grounds of me lying to him about going to a very dangerous location and not being very forthcoming once I was safe again.
Well, yes, because you'd overreact.
I don't think I would have reacted much differently myself. But that's on the mend because we've been working hard and he's been very, very forgiving, all things considered.
You want it to be on the mend?
Yes.
Versus her lips sits there silently for a while. Then I'm happy to hear that for you.
May's gonna roll insight on that. Okay, she already has a sense that Cal doesn't really like Senna that much, but that's
If she
a bit
doesn't,
more than she
has
expected.
been like willfully blinding herself.
Yeah.
I think May's always been like, okay, like Cal isn't Senna's greatest fan, but that's like much like Jamal being like, all right, turn it down a bit.
It's like,
Yeah.
I honestly genuinely think May has been like, but that's season 1 shit.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know him, you know me. I don't know how much will May get from a 12 about her deep loathing for Senna.
Oh, you
that she's not hiding.
You cut out before we got the number. Okay.
12.
Yeah. If Cal is not trying to hide it, I don't think she's doing like a deception check or anything. What do you think she gets out of 12?
I will say, yes, there is a dislike of Sinner, but I think especially because how quickly she's like, well, if that's what you want, it makes you happy. What is there is a deep respect, a deep respect for May, and a deep anger that comes from any point that she thinks someone is not being respectful of May, which unfortunately Cal was raised with her sister and comes from a patriarchy with where respect and abuse are hand in hand, where it's like respect means I say something and you fucking do it and you listen to me and stuff like that. So she deeply respects May, and she thinks part of the reason that she did, and part of the thing that is respect of being like, well, you don't have to tell people what to do. They still need to do what you want them to do. Because you're great, and that is the law of the universe.
Okay, May's very moved by that, and I guess a little bit amused. And
the
says,
dislike
"Don't worry."
is still there, but you would see that the prominent is respect and I wouldn't ever call it like adoration, but just like respect and deep love for May.
I'm gonna say May puts an arm around Cal's shoulder and says, "Don't worry, cleric. He's not being mean to me."
I should hope not.
Well, enough about Mia. How are you and your beautiful librarian boyfriend going?
Who are you talking about? Oh, Jamal?
And like not in a like a very like kind of confused and confused in kind of a sweet way. She goes, "Do you think he's beautiful?"
I think Mr. Tractate has the fortune of being both a very lovely person and not being too bad on the eyes.
No, I wouldn't disagree with that. I don't know.
May elbows her.
What?
When Cal's like, I wouldn't disagree. May's like elbowing her, like, yeah, but
Ooh,
you
have
like
a crush? Should have boyfriend for years. And Cal gets elbowed, and she's like, I don't disagree. I don't know. I didn't know if it was I mean, I haven't met a lot of men, so I wasn't sure if I found him visually appealing due to his intelligence or if it was a universal thing. It just helps to know that it is a universal thing. I trust you. Well, would you also call Mr. Drum beautiful?
Oh no, absolutely not.
All right, then yes, I do trust your judgment.
In brackets, but I do find him deeply attractive.
Cowell doesn't have to touch that. She is talking about objective fact.
Yeah.
Do you think he's beautiful? Let me tell you, Drum is busted as hell.
Yeah, and that's the charm.
That's the charm. Cal's like, he looks like he used his face to stop a motorcycle.
And May's like, oh, I know.
Yeah.
But Cal will very formally nod at this and will be like,
oh, we're doing well. I had him discuss any disappointments he may have in our relationship, which I reflected upon, and we had a discussion on. And as much as I wouldn't have necessarily made this choice on my own, I am respecting his wishes. I think she did almost say desires, and I went, not a good choice.
He doesn't have
wishes.
those.
Yeah.
And I am wearing, when it is just the two of us, I do not wear my veil in front of him, which is difficult, but I am hoping it will get easier.
I find most difficult things do. And May, again, still arm around the shoulders, but kind of gives her a squeeze, and it's like, it sounds like you're growing up a lot. In a very non-condescending way, genuinely. Yeah. She's like, yeah.
I think Cal kind of says that, and then she wrinkles her nose, and she's like, I don't
know. Is that what growing up is? Doing something for someone else, even though you don't want to do it at all?
But he's like, carefully choosing her words, I think growing up is understanding that sometimes, for the sake of people you care about, you do have to do things for them that you may not readily come to yourself. Within reason, of course.
May is without the proper modern terminology, be like, asexuality is okay, but also you do need to commit to a relationship, but also it doesn't need to be sexual because you don't need to be forced, but also intimacy is really important.
Yeah, she has none of this language, and she's like, it's kind of important to give a shit about what your partner cares about, basically. That is the gist.
Mm-hmm.
And Cal's gonna she's gonna kind of give but she's but when it involves me, it would be one thing if, I don't know, if Jamal was veiled and he was like, oh, I would like to take my veil off around you, and I would say, no, I don't want that. That would be very disrespectful of me, but I don't know.
Does May get at all the sense that Cal is kind of frightened by this level of intimacy?
Frightened is a word you could apply to it, but it's not quite right, of just being it is definitely, there is some sort of, it's more of the like fairy necroautism, wanting to do things the way she's always done of them and being like, but I thought the system worked great, so why are we complaining about it, kind of thing, as opposed to being like, this is scary, and like, I don't know, like that, where it's just being like, but I was comfortable with this. And it was my kind of thing to do, and I'm doing it. But then you coming in, and she's kind of being like, I did this thing because I care about Jamal. I don't understand why you wanted it, but I'm doing it. And then May coming in with immediately about like, you have grown so much and you're becoming so much bigger and better. And she's like, wait, you too? What the fuck?
Which is definitely fear, but just a fear that's a lot harder to recognize in yourself.
Yeah. No, I think if May was treating this to like usual intimacy fear of like sex and stuff like that, she'd be like, okay, it's definitely around that kind of ballpark, but it's not really rated quite as that.
In that case, May says, I think it's very easy to mistake the things that bring us comfort as things that are good for us.
So are you all in agreement then?
I'm in agreement that I'd like to see your lovely face more often.
I don't want to.
I don't wanna.
Don't worry, Cleric. I'm not about to start ripping it off of you.
Well, no, I would kill you.
I don't know. It just seems a general solid policy. If it's something Fish wants, it's probably a bad idea.
Something Fish wants?
But if... Oh, yeah, didn't... Oh, no, you were a little catatonic. They went off on me at the airport. When I told them that I was going back to all this. They were very... I don't know, confused and didn't understand the point of it and thought that this, I don't know. I've been wearing it whenever I see them, which I do mostly out of, well, maybe out of spite, but it's not something I was doing that often while at home, so.
Caligulus, are you telling me you've started doing this specifically because Fish provoked you into it?
No, it's just if I was, more inclined to be, well, I already took my veil off because I was spending time with Jamal. Maybe there was a world I didn't have Fish lurking around my temple, that I could feel safe, that I could walk out into the hall without it. But...
Yeah, May's just like, oh. Much to unpack. Opens the folder.
Next, I will interview Fish about this.
Yes. Cal, I think the easiest way to do this is to go without a veil, but just before you do it, have someone run ahead of you and just lock every cabinet. Hello? Hello?
And that's when the true purpose of the exercise becomes known to people. I'm not elaborating on that further.
Yeah, Cal's just having this conversation. It's like, I know. I mean, it's something that Sister Tail has always said, and Elise as well. And I guess I had hoped, because Jamal never really explicitly commented on it before, that he was I don't know, fine with it or glad for it or something. And it's been a little, I don't know, disorienting to figure out that it's not. I think we have all agreed that the practical uses it has, and the fact that a first cleric, Denier, is always going to be in this temple no matter what. We've all agreed that that's really for the best, but
Mm. Well, not to say that you've betrayed me, but it has put a little bit of a wrench in things.
I'm very
I was
sorry.
doing so good, May. Why did you come here with facts and logic? I was doing fine. How dare you?
Maya says, "Oh no, I completely agree. It absolutely makes sense around the temple, for the sake of appearances and for you being able to get out about and be omnipresent and everything. But I in private, I do understand that Jamal has committed the cardinal sin of wanting to know you better."
Well, I mean, you can know me better without having to see my face.
Is this maybe at the point we come to Jamal's offices?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could come and be like, speaking of, let's get Jamal's opinion.
May would never.
You like my face? Yeah, I love it. Yeah, you come in on Jamal working. Beliala is also in here. Working with him, the library is like more put together than when it, we saw it last with Fish, but still clearly a work in progress, and a lot of like files kind of everywhere, and it, and Jamal clearly has a lot like on his plate, doing the like data collection that Cal is concerned about right now. Um, but yeah, you get in there and you can settle down to research. Um, what do you want to research specifically?
May wants to research both anything extra Jamal can get about what's the company's name again? Bistro or something.
Mhm.
And also because she's been slacking on the laboratory location stuff, she kind of vaguely, without telling him specifically, with as minimal details, potential sites.
Mm-hmm. As you get that info out, this is top secret. Beliala, can you leave the room or something like that? And you do that information. You probably have a map that you made when you first got like kind of the
Absolutely.
vision, that has general areas. You can see that the area that is modern day China is fairly littered with them. It's certainly like it's not like there's just one site, potential site in China. There's like okay, I know there's one in this general area in South China around where we're going, and then there's one to the north over here, and over here there's kind of one that's probably on the east coast some here, although it might be under the sea by this point.
They may ask him to focus on the one, Joe.
Yeah. Um, he, he can look, but that is kind of like secret information even the Chinese government would not necessarily be putting out. He may be able to do research by talking to locals, essentially connecting with their version of the of a sanctuary. But I think in order to know that and be able to do that, you all need to figure out how China works, politically, which may be a research role of its own.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Also, I wanted to ask, is it just Beliala, Jamal, and Cal and May in here?
Yeah, right now in this research room, Fish can obviously wander in if they want to, but
they're in town.
There's like every once in a while, another cleric will come in, either looking for Jamal or looking for you or looking to grab a book or return a book or something like that. Like there is a little bit of traffic, but it is mostly you.
Cal then takes her veil off as being like,
May like make significant eye contact with Jamal.
Yeah, especially doing it when Jamal isn't looking, about being like, I'll prove my point. Jamal will just be like, oh, whatever, I don't care. When inevitably Jamal's gonna like light up when she sees her.
Yeah. You're like, I've taken my veil off, and Jamal is like,
woo guy.
yeah, it's like, yeah, he's looking at everybody else, and like, obviously very happy. Beliala is like, cool, and goes back to what she was doing. Clearly, could not care what you're wearing or not wearing. And
Fuck everybody else. I respect you.
yeah.
Oh, I forgot to say, when May comes in, she would absolutely given Jamal a hug that would have lifted him off, and then being like, and as soon as says hi, by the way.
Oh, that's great. I'm down, please. Thank you. I did want to apologize to you, May. I didn't realize that that you had not told Sinner about the North Korean thing, and I know that caused a little bit of problems with you, and I just wanted to say I'm sorry. And
Jamal, darling, you caused no problems. It was me who caused the problem. You did very much the right thing. Absolutely, what a good friend would have done.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Claps him on the back.
We're really glad to have you here, and you wanted to know stuff about China for any particular reason, or like any specific subject matter, or because we can get researching and just have this lickety split.
Yes. I'm looking for any magical sites of interest around Guangzhou.
Magical sites.
Whether it's even just rumors from locals, or definitively we know that there have been objects of interest unearthed here. Okay. Animals of interest, even.
Got animals of interest. Okay, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can get right on that. Yeah. Let me do a research check for him. Yeah, it's definitely a thing of like May lifted him and it was like below center of mass, so he's like, whoa.
And then you said he just smiled when Cal took off her veil, right?
He smiled really big and he looked at everyone else like, you seeing this? Oh my god! He's doing it when other people are around? What a treat! But yeah, he doesn't say anything. He knows not to make commentary because that means Cal is more likely to put the veil back on. All right. Yeah, he brings up he does his research and he comes up with a couple of places that are kind of like historical dig sites. China has an old enough history that it's a lot like Italy, where like you can't build anything without discovering ruins and things, especially along the coast. And he has he can get some records of a couple of archaeological dig sites that found magical implements. He can kind of put together like a rough magical history of China in that way, but like he can't. He doesn't have a. He has absolutely no information on anything from the ancients that May does not already know. There's like one dig site that was fairly famous in Western China that was like probably honestly where May did some like graduate level work of like lab work on artifacts from there, rather than like digging in place, of being like, yeah, this was clearly like an ancient settlement that we have done, and that's where we started like cracking the language they use and things like that. There's been a couple of things like that where it's like important sites, but nothing that's like recent or that May wouldn't know about that he comes up with. And yeah, if I'd say if you want like China specific information about how like China works
Yeah.
magically, I would say we do a split advantage roll. So give me a
History?
investigation check.
Damn.
A history. No, history will work. Yeah, give me a history check,
They're both the same
and
bonus. So
and I'll do a history and investigation for Jamal, and whichever's
okay.
highest wins.
Okay.
Gonna guess yours is highest.
Mine's a 15.
Mine was like an 8.
Oh, well, there you go.
Um, yeah, you rolled very poorly. Um,
Can I flash a genius it?
He's too busy looking at that face.
yeah, he's like he's flipping pages, but he's just looking like this. He's not even looking down at the book.
May I flash a genius it because this is a scene? Situ?
Yeah, no, this is a
Okay.
scene. You can do this. Yeah.
Okay, that is now in 19 actually. Yeah, it's a 19 because my intelligence scores got up. Hell yeah.
Yeah. With a 19, the you have records here that have to do with like necromantic missionary work into the East, and it gets a lot of like secondary information about how China works, like in the magical politics. Um, there is nothing you can find and no one you can like easily talk to that is able to fully confirm how things have been post cultural revolution. But people do say, people you're calling, records you're reading, saying like the system is there. It just may have changed a little bit, just in ways we can't account for. What you learn is that in China, as well as in Vietnam and Korea, operates under the system of the 12 heavenly houses, which are 12 clans, essentially, that are named after the animals of the Chinese zodiac. Um, the Heavenly House of the Dragon, which is what you know from Korea, has historically been associated with, from the records you can see with a 19, has historically been associated with like rulership in China. They've always had like the emperor as an honorary member, and because China had in the past had ownership and conquest in Korea and Vietnam, spread there. The Heavenly House of the Dragon in Korea is technically an offshoot of this larger system, in a kind of which like nobody actually pushes having sovereignty over each other. It's in China. It's called the Peninsular House, but it's just like its own separate thing, entirely separate political entity that just like kind of grew out of the same history. Like an area that like claims a kingdom or an empire over an area, but the distinct pieces actually function entirely autonomously, and just like the boss has input every now and again. It's kind of like that, but even more separated. In Vietnam is almost entirely controlled by the Heavenly House of the Tiger, which does seem to be like more directly in the Chinese system. But what you're learning from these like necromantic missionary things is essentially the necromancers came to China to be like, hey, we're going to found temples, join our temples and become necromancers. And the Chinese went, yeah, actually, that sounds great. We'd love to join you. Which house are you joining? And they went, what? No, you're joining us. It's like, no, no, no. Yeah, of course. No, we'll do necromancer stuff. We'll learn the magic. Which house are you joining? And uh, it's sort of like this larger clan system within China. Everyone, as far as you can tell, every single person from birth who is any kind of magical person, sorcerer or otherwise, has family members who are magical, sorceress or otherwise, or are just magically aware in any way, which in China is quite a lot of them. We'll see if the Cultural Revolution kind of like wiped out a lot of that progress, but the magical community is pretty well known. Like has to be a member of one of the houses. So the houses like in total are claim membership by something like 75% of the population of China. It is, you have to be a member. If you move there and you become a permanent resident, you are going to become um, you're going to become a member. Um, but the there also you learn that like technically each house has like one matriarch that rules things and a council of her children that are the actual governors and operate you do her will to like keep the house stable, and it's all about like this fealty patronage system about like protecting your fellow house members and stuff like that. But in practice, there's way too many people to like actually have everyone be controlled by a central house. So there's a lot of like branch houses that have a name that's very similar. Sometimes like a direction or like an element or something from something else from the zodiac or like a certain energy. So it'll be like instead of Heavenly House of the Rat, it'll be like Heavenly House of the Wood Rat, and it's like that's the eastern branch that like claims to follow the main branch and but kind of sort of does their own thing. So it creates this very complicated political structure where you can't really like do too much to the magical community without offending somebody, because everybody is under this patronage arrangement. But also, it's really complicated because functionally, instead of having one overarching sanctuary, you have 12 sanctuaries that are all kind of sort of in direct competition to each other to various extents. There's definitely like you're seeing reports of like intermarriage between the houses and being like, oh yeah, you can do a trial period of this house and then move to another house. Like it's not like dictatorial, but it is definitely like, okay, now choose one and we'll have your loyalty forever till you die.
I'm guessing the the very Chinese concept of saving face is a big problem in managing this political system.
It is a huge quagmire.
Yeah,
It's not just oh, I'm insulting this guy who's like important in the
I'm insulting 1,000
community.
other people.
Yeah, I'm also insulting someone who's
Yeah.
like middle management in a magical organization with hundreds of thousands of members. Yeah,
Cool.
it's messy, which does mean that getting in it's first of all, you don't know the state of like how things are in the current day. You're getting you're getting some more modern reports that's kind of like the houses still exist, but it's kind of like maybe they're less powerful than they used to be because they're a very traditional thing and it's the Cultural Revolution. The whole like the House of the Dragon has been associated with the Emperor and the Republic and ruling in China. It's like, do those guys still exist? Maybe the communists killed them all in China. You don't have a like huge grasp of the modern system, but you do know like, okay, I can't just do what I did in Korea and like kind of ignore the sanctuary and just kind of like operate on my own, because that was a much more traditional like it's basically a sanctuary. If I need something from him, I'll talk to him. Otherwise, that's fine. It's like maybe you don't need permission to be part of the auction, but like you gotta be talking to these people to get like funding or to get anything to happen.
Okay, so here's my concept.
Mm-hmm.
Taking in this complex political system, May's first thought would be, oh, okay, I need to engage with the British sanctuary and try to do something. But then she thinks, no, China's not a big fan of England as of late. And then has the thought either the Sudanese branch, for lack of a better word, of like a kind of being like,
African
hey,
sanctuary?
Yeah, the African sanctuary.
Yeah.
Being like, hey, like, I know I kind of dropped the ball a little bit. I really like to make it up. Like, I know that you guys build up, your own independent museums, and I've seen this auction, that like might have some interesting stuff for you in tourist option, like distinguishing yourself from the British system of museums. If you would send me over there, I could like set up a connection. The ones maybe to lead China back in the. Hey, what do you think?
Ellie, my good friend.
Oh
Ellie,
no!
Your
my
mic was
good
cutting
friend.
out. Your mic was cutting out, and I could understand everything you were saying until your voice got high right at the end there, and then it was entirely gone.
Okay, basically, maybe being like, and then you guys can be the ones to maybe reconnect China, world at large. That would be a pretty big notch on the bedpost. Ding
No,
ding.
I mean, you definitely know that the Sudanese don't have like tons of money to be doing that kind of stuff. But like between approaching the Sudanese government, talking to the African sanctuary, and be like, "Hey, some of these might be magically important or dangerous," something like that. Even talking to the British might not be a terrible idea, just because Hong Kong is so close to where you're
that
going.
is true. That
Being
is true.
just
Maybe
like,
she'll do that instead then.
yeah, I mean, I think all of these are good options. Not necessarily something to do right now while you're chatting with Jamal and doing the research, but absolutely, those are all great ideas of like creating a network of support, of being like, I need people to bring in funding so I can buy things, please.
Yeah.
I need to buy dangerous things.
Okay, cool. That for later then, she will make some calls.
Hmm? Yeah. May gladly wheeling and dealing.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to do research on, or are we having Fish pop in and be like, "Hey, I heard there's a solstice party."
I think
overheard it
another
while in the
thing.
cabinet.
They would also ask Jamal to look into the Western offshoots of the Buy Shell company. Be like,
Okay.
hey, and basically she give him access to the company listing she had and be like, can you look into these guys?
Yeah, you get him to duplicate the information with his power, so he has a copy. That's definitely going to be a longer term thing that he has to look into, because obviously those records are not in a random necromantic temple. But you can actually, with Cal's permission, ask him to make that like the big research project while you're in China, is getting you this information.
Oh, if Cal is up for it, absolutely, they will be like, please God, thank you. I am at my end. I'm at the end of my rope. Like, basically.
All right. I started typing instead of actually responding. Yeah. Can I borrow your boyfriend? Yes. No, Cal's like, yeah. Cal definitely, when it comes to like Jamal being a incredible research thing, she's definitely, that's like, that's my boyfriend kind of thing. Like, definitely like, oh, I will brag about Jamal being good at research all day. Yes.
But also, like,
Lose
I got
him.
Jamal because he was getting passed around. I don't mind passing him around more.
But also, I do think her take on that is like, can you believe he was a fucking junior archivist, and it was like, yeah, here's the shitty one to give to the necromancer. Like, fucking idiots.
Yeah, and it's so funny in hindsight, being like, he was considered junior because like he hadn't been there long enough and was like not interpersonal enough to play the politics and get a higher position. But he may genuinely be a better researcher than some of his more senior archivist staff, which is one of the reasons why he followed you here. Yeah, absolutely. Borrow the boyfriend.
Cool. Yeah. That's it for me.
This is a reference to. Oh no, Renee, you go.
I was just gonna say, I'll have May help Cal pick out an outfit. May's gonna be like, no veil, sexy dress.
The reference to what we were talking about like 3-4 hours ago, but Fish's landlady has a book club where they only talk about one chapter every week, and the rest of it is just gossip.
Yeah, and drinking.
Yes, and Fish very kindly serves the drinks and also likes to sit in and go, oh yeah, okay, well here's some shit that I'm making up right now. Did you know that?
Yeah. Did you know this guy is cheating on his wife? It's like, I haven't met any of these people, but maybe.
Yes.
That could be true. I don't know.
So it's a book club day. Fish has made sure that they're all good and had their thing. The fence is painted. Kekano's eaten the latest grass. And now it's time to go down to the temple and bother Cal. What's that car in the driveway?
Their
Exactly.
daily chores.
Um, as you hike up to the temple. Kekano is with you, chatting about the gossip in book club, and he doesn't understand all of it. So he asks you to explain when he's like, yeah, and then the lady said that his was really big. What does she mean by It was a weird noise she made. I didn't think it was English.
No, look, it's not all going to be languages we understand, buddy, but
Oh, I get it.
what you got to do is eat that dirt, like I told you.
Dad, I've been eating dirt every day. I've been
Oh,
eating dirt
yeah.
multiple times a day. I can feel it a little bit. I think it's working. So I got to keep trying.
I know you can do it, bud. And I'm glad that I'm so proud of you for practicing and keeping it up.
Thanks, Dad. Probably sad thought as you turn away from this nice conversation with Kekano and be like, I wonder if Jonas is like infecting my connection with Kekano. That's a problem for another day.
It's on their mind.
Yeah. Fish is in a very stressed place for one of their focuses. But yeah, you head into the temple. Probably stop to chat with some of your favorite people here, and they'll
Yeah,
let you know.
what was Mr. The Smoker? What was him?
Oh,
Was
Rocky.
it Rocky? Fish still goes and talks to Rocky every now and then, but it like keeps a distance and is just like yeah. Anyway.
Just like takes deep breath, gets that nicotine off the air.
and then it goes,
Hey man, I'm
all right, I
cold.
gotta
Can I
go.
borrow your jacket?
If I lick the nicotine off.
Can you just like breathe on me for a second? Thanks.
Yeah, just talk to me about the things I'm not listening, but just talk
Yeah.
at me.
Here's the smell. You are good friends with Rocky at this point, and he doesn't smoke all the time. He honestly smokes less than you used to, but yeah, he is very much your type of guy, very friendly, and has really really helped you kind of integrate in in the uh, uh, the persona of the necromancer, because he is also very new to necromancy, and so you can kind of like quiz him to get necromantic answers, and he's always willing to kind of like show you around and tell you where to find stuff. He's just like, he's incredibly friendly in a way that is very dangerous when Fish is involved. Just being like overly accommodating to Fish.
Yep.
But yeah, he's your buddy. Definitely tells you that your friend May is in town and is with the abbot somewhere.
Is Cal officially going by Abbott now?
Probably not, but I don't think Rocky listens to that. I think
Okay.
Rocky calls Cal Abbott every time Cal is not there to hear.
The corrections have gotten less aggressive because someone has probably pointed out to her about being like, you have so many more foreign guests these days, and you being caught correcting is going to make you look bad. And she's like, so she doesn't openly take the title, but she's shutting it down a lot less often because someone made that point to her and she was like, rah, rah.
Yeah.
It was phlegm.
Yeah.
Does look very. She wears it. It's very unprofessional. And Cal's like,
Disappear, child.
okay, evaporate.
Oh yeah, May's here. That's great. I will stand out here for another minute to prepare myself for that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it
She's
is,
like going with the cigarettes.
yeah, I overheard something about a trip or something like that. You know, always coming and going with you and the old abbot there. Seems like a lot of fun. Hope you have a good time.
Oh, look, whether I'm invited or not, we'll fucking see. Maybe I can be abbot while Denia's gone. I assume that the ladies are definitely off to have a trip together. I can be in charge. How
Hey,
about
yeah, you know what?
Abbott Snapper? How does that
Abbott
sound?
Snapper. I like it. Abbott
Yeah.
Snapper. Hey, listen, you don't get taken on this trip or anything like that. Come by. We got a craps game
Yeah,
every Friday.
Friday.
We need more players. If you're just gonna hang around, yeah. And maybe we put a little bet on it. We say, hey, Rousseau, you lose
Don't
this
talk to me
role.
about Russo. That woman, I
Abbott
swear to God.
Snapper's in charge.
Or she's testing me.
Oh
I
yeah,
sure
yeah.
am really not wanting to break my promise to Denia to not fuck any of her people. But tell you what,
Oh, really going that way? Yeah.
yeah.
Not for me personally. A little on the young side, but you know what? She's a beautiful gal. I'll say
Yep.
that.
Mm. Anyway, all right. I think I'm ready. All right. I'll see you later, Rox.
Yeah. See you, Snapper. Stay real.
I feel like he rides a skateboard. Do you think he's into skateboarding when it becomes a...
I think he's too old and would
No,
be like I'm
you
gonna
can be old and ride a skateboard.
Yeah.
I've
I'm
seen
gonna
it.
break a hip. No, it's gonna keep him from trying it. But if he did ride a
Okay.
skateboard, he would like it.
I bet he would.
He has them up on his wall.
Yes, yes.
He
He's got
wears
them
the
as
shoes.
display
Yeah.
skateboards. He's that old guy who turns 50 and all of a sudden, because his hairline's receding, starts only wearing skate beanies. All right, yeah. Join the others in the library. Maybe sneak in a chat with Rousseau, and yeah, you gotta decide. We probably want to uh, cut ahead to actually getting on, unless there's any more scenes that we want to run. But yeah, let's skip to the holiday party.
Just that when Fish sees me, they like, hey, and then go, hey, how are you? And when they have a moment, like just the two of them goes, I was a real piece of shit last time we saw each other. I am sorry.
Do we want to do a scene about it or abstract it in?
Sure. Yeah. Jamal is there watching you. Eliala looked up at you, nodded when you came in, and then went back to her book and has not acknowledged you apologizing.
Well,
Because
okay, it's because Fish has taken May away. Like, it's just the two
oh,
of
okay.
them.
I figured
Yeah.
you were saying it in public to the others that are here.
No, it's
Cal is
more.
there,
It's more
unveiled,
important.
staring suspiciously.
Yeah, walks in and all like casual, like, hey, whoa, it's unveiled, huh? Oh man, everything's fine. And then, like 20 minutes later, having a more sober conversation.
Yeah. When Fish first comes in, May is like cheerful and polite, but in that sort of like the way you're cheerful and polite to a work colleague, you don't really get into it, it's just habit. When Fish takes her aside, she would be like, she'd be like, no, I appreciate the apology. Totally understand. does not engage beyond that. Is like she does appreciate it, but no.
Make it up with action.
Yep.
I heard that there's perhaps a new adventure going around. You have my full support, and if Howard is still like a thing that's happening, like he could have died in the last month. I still help you out with that one. And I guess we can talk in more detail at a later time. But it's good to see you, May.
Oh, yes, with the trip. Yes, I won't say no to a willing body. It'll be good to have backup for this one. As for Howard, don't know. Haven't had any luck looking. Yes, I'll have to make some calls, but I'll let you know about the trip.
Thanks.
Noticeably, does not see it's good to see you back. Yeah. And yeah, I guess like she goes and makes the calls unless we're literally about to have the party within like the half hour of that time.
No, but yeah, why don't we just do those calls right now? But we'll abstract them.
Yeah, we can abstract them. Yeah. Don't need to be. No, thank you. I don't trust my rolling ability at the moment, so let's get it over and done with.
Well, I was gonna make you roll, so
give
me a
that
persuasion
20s.
check. Give me
so
a
what am I
persuasion
rolling?
check.
Okay.
Persuasion check. Well, just do this as a general one for like any context, you know.
Good luck.
God. It's not bad. That's a 17. You know what? I will flash of genius. I will flash of genius that one to bring up to a dirty 20.
Isn't it a? Oh no, it is a dirty 20. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Actually, no, it's a 21 because my intelligence is higher now.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was gonna say.
Mm.
But you have the wording in front of you. Yes. So you start making some calls, calling up all of the contacts you have. I think you realize by like sheer weight of contacts, it's the British that you have like the most pull with. You definitely have like you have contacts in the African sanctuary, you have contacts in the Egyptian sanctuary. You are able to reach out to the British and a few other groups, the Canadians, and overall you find that like a lot of them like support the mission but are not sure about doing direct funding. With a 21, the Canadian sanctuary, because of what happened with the benefactor, is willing to give you financial backing if you say like this is ancient technology. We might have a little.
Oh yeah, she would say that with the Canadian one, definitely.
Yeah. The other ones being more circumspect, probably like, oh, I would like to bid on a potentially dangerous magical object, I believe, is here. You get some support, but not like an overwhelming amount. But overall, you think you got like a pretty good egg to be bidding with here. The consequence is that because the Canadians are supporting you, they want it in their vault or otherwise to be like involved in the process of hiding it or
that's okay because it might not even make it back there. Like, who knows what's going to happen to this?
Yeah.
Tragically, it was lost.
Yeah, tragically it was lost. This effort you go to, this fundraising and support effort, really does kind of get you a long ways. You get support regarding kind of diplomatic ties, kind of the assurance that as long as it's not going to like create an international incident, the British sanctuary has enough pull with the British public service to essentially offer sanctuary to you in Hong Kong should you need it. Um, some information about like how the border between Hong Kong and China works and what time various gates open and like the secret gate that the sorcerers use and stuff like that. Some information like that. The British also do tell you that it is they had someone look at this auction and did not realize that this was potentially magical artifacts, but do already have someone in the British government, actually a couple of someone's heading there as part of the auction to bid on the other more normal artifacts. The the British sanctuary presence in Hong Kong is basically just like an administrative person who's just the one representative of the sanctuary in the city for British sovereign territory, um, and uh, therefore they can't be like, and we're sending agents with you, but they kind of have the local equivalent of agents of like, this is a trusted person who's not technically part of the sanctuary, but I've worked with before, who may be able to give you a hand in Hong Kong and go with you to the auction to kind of like scope out potentially dangerous um, things. Tanith as a bodyguard, I do believe she is pretty young at this point. Again, it could be a phlegm situation where she's just like, "I'll be your bodyguard today," but we don't know.
Tana's age has changed like 1,000 times. She is
She's 70 or something when she meets Val the first time, right? She's in her 70s, I want to say.
No, that got
Like
retconned.
90s. Oh, okay.
I believe it got retconned to 90s. And I will say that's not the worst one because like I think it's like Skullduggery says it and it's like I mean he can just be wrong, but yeah, I can look it up. But if she isn't a kid, she's still with the fucking knife squad.
Yeah, she's with the ones. Yeah, but you have a lot of kind of like secondary support and a chunk of money. Um, 21, 21, 21. Yeah, I'd say with a 21, the African Sanctuary does have um, some people who have regular contact with the Chinese house system and basically pass along to you that the heavenly houses in the city, the primary one, this Guangzhou being the seat of the heavenly house of the Ram, is is watching with interest and is been having a lot of problems and therefore may be receptive to a group of mages willing to like do them favors in exchange for like extra political or financial backing in the area. So I think that's the information you get on your calls. A lot of like calling in favors. You'll definitely have to kind of like work to build up this favor backlog a little bit. But yeah, you get that the British are very interested in the antiquities side of the auction, and that generally speaking, I think that the British communicate to you of being like, hey, this auction really is like for Western countries to come and like get Chinese artifacts and be like, this is now the only way you're allowed to get our artifacts is with these auctions that we can very closely control, rather than just looting our country. So, it's like, don't be surprised if like there's a French delegation, there's a German delegation, American, things like that. You may be competing with Europeans for this rather than Chinese for the actual auction itself.
Okay.
Although, since you seem to be the only one who recognizes the value of this certain lot, that's that may be another thing.
Yeah. Do any of them? Okay, May would also ask, like, oh yes, have you know anything about the Maharu in Hong Kong by chance? Separate role, or
You did get a 21.
I
I'm gonna
did.
say nobody has been like, none of these governments have been like, the Maharu is our number one concern, and we've been keeping an
No.
eye on them or something like that. But I think the British sanctuary, if you ask, has been like, no. I mean, we've seen some like visitors who are members, and some people who live there are members, but there's not like a chapter house there or anything. I don't think there's much going on there.
Cool. That's it then. Oh,
Okay.
and May very briefly call Senna to be like, I've made it in safe. I'm at the temple.
Yeah. Cal's showing me.
He's really
face.
trying. Yeah. Yep.
You're like, I'll distract you with gossip. Did you know she's showing her face more? You're gonna get an excited phone call from Jamal.
She would also update him on like, here's the current plan. Like, I've got the funding and everything. She would be keeping him in the loop. She's trying.
You can tell that being like, oh, there's like international powers that are behind May's trip, at least a little bit now, is comforting to him, of being, she's just not in the wind with just Fish and Cal for support.
Yeah.
But he's like, the only ones you're going with are the ones who had you drinking with gangsters and being a
To
film
be
crew.
fair, Senna, I did all the drinking myself.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely like, I can't be mad at May anymore, so I'm going to blame her friends, even though it's unfair.
And Fish is like, yeah, we're so cool because I kept May alive.
Yeah. Sinner doesn't seem to actively dislike you for your role in anything, but I also think because of the issues that they were dealing with their relationship, May probably isn't bringing up everything that was happening with Fish, because it seems too much like a distraction of like, you'll never guess, Fish was trying to sleep with this fox woman and was just fucking everything up. So probably hasn't gotten Fish's latest, questionable deeds.
No.
But yeah, if we want to time skip by like a day, we've got a winter solstice party. Cal, what does Cal's winter solstice party look like?
Black. It's black. Lots of candles.
Black ice.
Is Elise coming or involved at all?
Elise said, unfortunately, she did have to miss because she was doing this thing with helping her temples out, potentially hunting down the black dog. But she did give you a bunch of like, she gave you like a phone number for one of her caterers, and she's like, use my name to get a discount, and definitely like left you with leftover like decorations and supplies from the birthday party, but other than that, hasn't really had any involvement.
Yeah, I would say this is probably a kind of traditional winter solstice like feast with the thing that you do with the bones when you can like you do like the reading of
like
there's a very specific sorry, what did you say?
Like how you would like roll knuckle bones, that sort of deal.
Yeah, just basically, I know there's like a very traditional word for that, of stuff like premonitions and future predicting
Scrying.
using bones.
Augury.
There's a more specific
Augury,
one
yeah.
that is specifically. Yeah, thank you.
Hmm.
Yeah, and doing that with necromancers, which is and like eating a lot, and probably the only time Tay was allowed to bring in half decent food for the temple when she was back at home. So she kind of sees it as a very traditional thing, and then some of the necromancers who didn't come from such fucking sad, boring ass underground faces are like, oh, it's a party, and Jamal's like, oh, I'll bring my family, and Cal's like, oh no.
Yeah.
And it's definitely more of a very like prim and proper, more of a prim and proper Christmas dinner vibes than like a proper party, but like the idea of like we dress up nice. There will be anybody who can play an instrument is encouraged to play one and do any sort of poetry reading or anything that you like, but mostly we're gonna eat and try and do things that are auspicious for the for surviving the winter. It's fucking snowy here, Um and yeah, it's nothing too elaborate, but more people keep being like, and then I want to do this, and Kel's like, okay.
As you celebrate the winter solstice together, a very formal, stately affair. Some of the necromancers are clearly kind of like, oh, never really celebrated this before, like Fossey and Adrienne. And other necromancers are like, this is a lot lamer than it usually is. As they're having their celebrations. Um, yeah, I think you just find a very like simple, you know, black with white candles celebration, um, with all of the extended necromantic family, and hoping for this auspicious signs before heading out on your new adventure. You head to the airport to take a flight into Hong Kong.
Also, I bet May suggests Cal wears a dress with cleavage. I just wanted to add that.
100% does. 100%.
Yeah, literally is like going through her wardrobe and is clearly able to like see what the things that like Elise has added and is like, this one. And Cal's like, really? And she's like, please. I was like, oh, okay.
May being more aggressive is like you should wear something with cleavage. She's like, I've thrown away everything that has cleavage. It's like, you're a really good seamstress, right? You think you can fix a neckline really fast? It's like, yes, I suppose. Takes a scissor and like cuts out a scoop neck.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and with the darkest day of the year passing, you get ready to go to China, except for one thing that I entirely forgot going back in time. Fish, did you report to Kitsune's grandma about finding her brother?
Obviously, yeah. Like
um,
immediately.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
like, hey, he was dead. He died. That's what it was.
let's actually run that really fast as our last scene.
Okay.
Because I entirely forgot to do that when it was actually your time. All right. You've come back to Canada and have started um, meeting with your dad again through meditation, and very quickly he tells you that um, the Lady Inari has requested a update, and you are brought across into her realm to report to her. Once again, you are Um, once again, you are in this courtyard of the Okami. A bunch of foxhead priests wandering around and tending the 5 buildings. And the main building just across from you, right when you enter, is dark, is shuttered. You head over to Lady Anari's pavilion and meet with her. As you come in front of her once again, a very striking-looking woman relaxing in a large chair. It seems enormous, but perspective because of perspective, but it's probably genuinely like 7 feet tall, of just a godly proportion. And you report her brother's death.
And as respectfully as Fish can possibly do it.
She nods to you, smoking on a long pipe, and asks for essentially like a full accounting of everything you did to search and how you came to that conclusion. Essentially, you get the sense that like not that she doesn't believe you, but that like she's going to wait until she figures out if you are actually like not full of shit before she mourns.
Yeah, she needs the whole account anyway. And Fish gives it like the full journey, even extraneous details. Like, yeah, we had a bath of purification; it was pretty good. And like ultimately, then getting to the part where it's like, and then it seems that there was a terrible ambush, and that Lord Inari was torn to pieces and ceased to exist.
And you're sure?
The place was blasted, scorched earth, like magic wasn't there. It could only be a death of such magnitude that could do that, right?
Yes, although gods are very hard to kill, as you can imagine. Who did this to my brother Fish?
Okay. It's got this connection to this Egyptian fandom cult.
Fandom, I'm unfamiliar with this word.
You will learn. Survive to the modern day and you will learn, Lady and Hurry. Not canon dialogue.
You've seen Star Trek. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
these 2 old men who really want to fuck each other.
Yes. But like, Fish is not like as informed on the Maharu as May is, but like everything that May has told them, they basically pass on, and it's like think they're involved for fucking sure. And also, there is a demon tied directly to me, and I think it's involved. And there's a black dog, and things are going bad in the cosmos, and I think everyone is in danger.
You can see the being like yes, I'm sure he's dead. Here's how it happened. She kind of like closes her eyes for a moment and braces herself, breathes heavily for a moment, and then you're like, "There's a demon inside of me. The entire world might be doomed." She's like, like, like definitely, like, yeah, your problems, sure,
Yeah.
the world, like, I need the world, uh, but
It's just a courtesy. They're not going to go into
yeah.
detail unless she presses it. So it's like, the world might be. Oh, yeah, okay, fine, yeah.
As she is quiet a moment, just kind of like looking into space, kind of to the point of being like, "Okay, are we done? You haven't talked for a little while. Do I like just bow and leave?" She doesn't dismiss me, and then she kind of like focuses on you again, and then she says, "Fish, I have searched realms when you were on this mission for me." Smoke starts curling up out of her pipe and starts forming figures in the air. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the figures, like, heads fall off and they dissipate. And she says, "I have found 4 other gods that I believe may be dead, or at least missing."
Do you think my dad is in danger?
I think it is quite possible that your father is at risk, yes. My brother was the god of rice and growth, and as often the case, gods of growth are associated with death and renewal. Every other god I found missing is associated with death and renewal in some way. And it does concern me, your father, a being of such power and connected to the cycle of human death, may be at risk as well.
Do you have another job for me?
She puts her pipe down on the armrest and stands up, towering over you, and steps down off the dais to get with you, to get near you, and then takes your hand and gives you a bow that, like, genuinely has to be uncomfortably low to get lower than you, and presses your hand to their head and says, "Thank you, Fish. I consider our debt settled and the way to your father reopened. If you would find those responsible for my brother's death, if you would destroy them, I would be in your debt. You would have a boon from me." You look into her eyes, just like big green eyes in front of you, and for a moment you can see, in flashes and suggestions, people getting ripped apart by animals in the woods, by traps in warfare. This like trickster, mischief god turned violent of the mischief of death and deception. And I think it could be really dangerous, and you don't need to make any promises, but she is saying that, yes, she doesn't have another job for you, but she does have something that, if you do, she will reward you.
And Fish fears and respects this woman, and in the moment is simply compelled to say, I'll do it.
Good. Please tell your father of what we spoke of.
Well,
You are dismissed, Fish.
alright.
Return to me if you have news. And she fully like turns her back on you and settles back into her chair and very like collapsing body language of like now the grief is like really hitting and it's just grief and anger. Two Fox attendants come forward and kind of take you and gently bow at her and then kind of like guide you out of the room. And I think now that you have this context, as you're looking around, you're seeing all of these like fox-headed priests are carrying weapons now, which is not something that they had before. This
They
is
just had
clearly like
incense burners and such before.
this is clearly like not a god going to war, but one that is preparing to, if that makes sense. Like, not there yet, but there could be some divine wrath happening in the future. Do you bring no, you wouldn't know about China or anything at
Nope.
this point. So, yep. She doesn't get that information.
But
If you
this
decide,
is what prompts Fish to then look more into the threads, which then brings us to
Mhm.
present. Yeah.
Yep. And Jonas and seeing all that. Um, Unfortunately, if you reach out to her and just give her a message about China or something like that, it turns out that while she is a deity in Japan and something influential, if not a deity, in Korea, her power does not really extend to China, and she cannot meaningfully help you in any way for that. But yeah, you ended that, and that's how that went. You are free and clear with your dad, and you now know that your dad may be in danger from whatever the Maharu is doing or not doing, because it may not be them, but it's probably them. But it may not be them, but it's probably them. Um,
And also the Whistler and the Black Dog and just
yeah.
everything. It's all fucked and compounding.
Yeah, and I don't know if Fish necessarily makes this connection, but there's also like something weird is happening with death, and there's this weird death dog. Also, necromancers are getting harassed, and also a bunch of like death gods are gone. Yeah, it's there's some things kind of tied up in there.
Yeah,
Um,
I want to say over the course of the month, while in between fixing changing a tire, then they go, oh shit. All right, wrench, wrench, wrench.
yeah,
I'll think about that later.
yeah, just the implications hitting you when your defenses are down.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, if anybody wants to in real life make a conspiracy board, that may be genuinely helpful. One of the rare times that's true. And I think that is where we will end today's session. Starting next time, we will be in Hong Kong.
Good luck, everyone.
Good luck, everyone. See you all next time. Goodbye, Craig.